Tony Dunn, ain't nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
In a world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions, only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast.
Panther fans, it's Tuesday night, and the team is 0-3, and I got to ask, are things worse than being winless? I sure hope they aren't, because that would make for a long show, and it would make for a long season. But despite that, I'm up, I'm here, I'm pumped. Somehow, I'm excited. Oh, maybe a little angry to talk Carolina Panthers football with y'all. In fact, Cody Lack, I just rewatched the game a time and a half this afternoon, and I still showed up for the show. I didn't go throw myself off a building. In fact, I have stopped saying I'm going to kill myself because of what other people do. I'd rather kill them. Don't kill yourself. Kill them.
And listen, man, we're going to have an opportunity to do so. We have an 0-3 Minnesota Vikings coming to town. The debate looms over Panther Nation. Who should be the starter this week? Bryce Young or Andy Dalton? I know who Greg thinks. We're going to find out who everyone else thinks tonight. We have Xavier Woods news. We have some injury updates. Man, Tony, we have a big-time show tonight like we always do. But as you know, there's nowhere I'd rather be on a Tuesday night than sitting here hanging with my boys, talking Panther football with the best damn Panther fans in all of YouTube. You know him and love him. It's our boy, Drew. Blind Panther Vlogs. Joey, what's up? Brandon R., the brand ambassador, D's Ill Skills. Drake May in the chat. Oh, probably not the real one. Supreme leader in the building. Panther Gal. Sideshow. The Base Senpai. Tim SS. Underground West. And your bastard son, White Chocolate Espresso. Tony Dunn. Ain't nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
The Panthers have had a difficult start. They've been continuing to deal with injuries, and those injuries just have mounted up from week to week to week. But beyond that, boy, this offensive line, I don't care if it's injured or not. The players that are playing are just straight bad, and that goes for number 1 draft pick. Ike Ekwonu just work. Chandler Zavala,
not number 1 draft pick.
Number first round draft. Thank you for clarifying that. Yes. First round draft pick last year. Tough things. A lot of tough things, despite a offense that put up more points than we've seen, despite an offense that was able to connect on some long plays and I guess have some exciting moments for somebody, for some few people. It's still, I don't know if it can, how sustainable anything can be at this point, but we got to figure out how the Carolina Panthers are going to grow from week to week. And we do that with you guys. We're here each and every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. The number's 252-228-5098. That's 252-228-5098. Smash the thumbs up button, subscribe. Greg's in the house. Greg, Carolina Panthers, rough start. But right now, I really feel like a lot of this is our fault as fans for believing or expecting too much out of this team, and that this team needs to grow from week to week. And that's where I've changed my goalpost to, Greg, is I want the team to improve from week to week. That's all I care about at this point.
I expected everybody during the season to move the goalpost. Like, that was something I accounted for. I think that Carolina Panthers fans right now, I want you to know there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Okay. Unfortunately, it's a train.
Oh,
so I mean, that's kind of what it is.
He was going to be optimistic for a second.
No, damn. We are screwed for years should Bryce Young not work out. Screwed for years should Bryce Young not work out. Now, there is nothing pointing to the fact that he's going to yet. I'm not saying he's a bust. There is nothing pointing to the fact that he's going to work out. But should Bryce Young not work out, we are totally screwed for years to come. Get ready for the next 3-4 years easy to be 3-4 win seasons. Easy.
Well, thanks, Greg, for being Mr. Optimistic.
I'm being
Greg, the glass half full Greg. That's what his name is from now on. CK, I think the scarier part for me is I don't even really care to talk about Bryce Young and forecast his future because we've only seen 2 games, and I think it's going to be a few years where we have a timeline to invest in him. I think the scariest part to me is that so many fans have completely lost confidence in the coaching staff in just 3 games. 3 games.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just scary to me is that it's like, fucking wrong choice.
Well, the problem is that it feels like the team is worse than they were before. And when you hire somebody else, like you would expect progress to be made if you felt like that the answer was, especially when you go and get your guy, right? You've got your the thing is we are bad in the places we thought we were good. Like the parts that we thought were our strength are our biggest weaknesses. Our offensive line has become our biggest weakness, right? We really thought our linebacking core was our weakness, and that's become our strength.
And they're not even the players we thought would be playing.
Right, exactly.
Right.
And when you look in our safeties, they've been strengths when it comes to what they've been able to do. Our cornerbacks have been an issue from health issues. They've been liability. Those are things that I thought I think many of us thought we had in the bag. That's injury issues, and so it's hard to really put that entirely on the coaching staff. But there is some blame to be placed there. I think the hope is just that it doesn't feel like we've moved in the right direction, right? We felt like this team was ready to roll. We felt like they've added the pieces that were missing, and it feels like we've taken a massive step backwards. We haven't started this badly with an 0-3 record, and what did they say, 13 years?
Well, it's since 2010, I think, with Cam Newton.
13 years.
Before that we got Cam Newton.
13 years. We haven't started this bad. It's worthy of some discussion as to whether that lack of confidence and that the loss of hope is warranted.
I gotta get off my ass and just make the Panthers traumatic stress syndrome shirt. I have some of it. I just don't know how to put that much on a t-shirt without it just looking like sentences. So I've been trying to work on that. Or actually I haven't. I came up with the idea, put the letters up there. I was like, this just looks ridiculous. But that's really what we got is like we've been so muddled in failure for so long is like it's hard to get out of the funk of it's almost, I guess, like with your parents, if you come from a broken household to expect love and happiness in life. Clearly, Greg. Sorry. Oh, zing. $1.99. You can support the C3 podcast by being a C3 super fan. You can smash the thumbs up button. Call in at 252-228-5098. Don't forget the show sponsored by Caldera Lab. CalderaLab.com/C3. Twice a day skin regimen just exclusively for men. Great products, man. I got to tell you, as the products last real long and they really are high-end, wonderful stuff. I got to tell you, I for someone who really cares very little about their, like, beyond just like showering, and I care more about my shoes than I do about my signature scent, I guess. I've been really impressed by this product. Twice a day skin regimen. Wash your face real easy. You get a great lotion afterwards. You get a nighttime serum. You get that. So it's really helped with my wrinkles. It's helped with my blackheads. I actually have a mole that I cut shaving right here. That's actually what that is. So it's not even a skin thing. CalderaLab.com/C3. You get 20% off your order. And it helps the podcast. And you can look better than the Carolina Panthers do by using that product. Let's get into the show. I don't know. I don't even know how. I mean, I do know how to start. Look, can it be worse than just being winless?
Are you asking?
It's a tough question. Is that really? I was thinking about this. Is just how bad is it? You know, how bleak is it? And I don't want to, I've been in places, I've seen teams that have not performed well early or have had moments where they don't look good and we freak out and it was unwarranted. We talked about Jonathan Stewart, where we talked to Jonathan Stewart on this podcast once. He came on the show and he continued to reference the 2014 season for the Carolina Panthers. It really meant a lot to him as an individual player. While we make fun of it as the Carolina Panthers backing into the playoffs with a 7-8-1 record, to him, that was a team where everybody stopped believing in them except for themselves and the coaches.
Right.
And I feel like this team right now is facing that already with an 0-3 start. And this might be, is this 0-3 start worse than being 0-3? I'll open that question to you guys.
Yes. And it's not just the 0-3 record. It's the injuries that continue to pile up and make this feel like the people that we thought, like, we don't know when JC Horn's coming back. We don't know. Obviously, the Brady Christensen situation is completely destroyed our offensive line. When you have Austin Corbett still an unknown as to when he's going to be returning, that added to the question marks around Frankie Louvu, losing Shaq Thompson for the year, CJ Henderson going out last week, Bryce Young having an ankle injury. Like, these guys, and that's not even to talk about the fragility of our wide receiver core right now, right? At any moment, these guys could buckle under the pressure. Miles Sanders has already been hurt this season, before the season actually started. I mean, we're talking about injuries.
Adding Xavier Woods to that list. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And when you talk about all of these, one of them, not a big deal, right? One of them, you can next man up. When you're talking about pretty much, we have 53 men on this roster, and 10 of them are question marks of whether they're going to be able to start a game in the next week or two. That's a big deal. And that is demoralizing to a team, especially when one of the leaders, and Shaq Thompson, is one of the guys gone for the entirety of the season.
It's hard to look, is that I've seen injury riddled teams before. I don't know if I've seen a team that has run into so many significant injuries this early in the season.
Right.
You know, I mean, yeah, you lost Cam in an early week or something. And you're like, oh, crap. Done. You've lost some key players early before. But I don't know if we've lost, like you've said, so many players that whether you think they're good or bad or okay, the Panthers were counting on them they were the Panthers starters so quickly. I mean, we're 3 weeks in, and you might as well think it's like week 14 here.
Yeah. It feels like it. It feels like this has taken forever to get through these first 3 weeks already. And the concern I have is I know last year was trying. Like, last year was tough all the way up until they fired Matt Rule, right? It was.
At least we
difficult.
had a punching bag, though. We had somebody to just shit talk the whole time.
This year feels worse. I don't know what it is. This year feels way worse than it did in years past. I don't know that I've ever felt this bad about a team than I do right now.
Can I read y'all a stat?
Yeah. Go ahead.
The Carolina Panthers are 0-53 in the last 53 games where we've trailed at any point in the game.
Look, and can I ask?
I'm gonna read that one more time, just in case that didn't land on you the way that it should. The Carolina Panthers are 0-53 in the last 53 games where we have trailed at any point.
Before you jump in there, I got
the game.
Cody, do you remember? I can't remember. There was a stat too last year where the Panthers were 0 and whatever under Matt Rule if they scored more than 20 or something. Like it was 18 or some. It was just some stat that it was like that. When you hear 0-53, that means this is like if a team just kicks a field goal against us in the first quarter, it gets out 3-0.
We're done.
Game
We're done. That's all she wrote. We're a 2-pump chump. That's
like
all
you better. You know what?
dude.
If you're the Panthers and you read that stat, you should say you should never defer.
So
fuck that. Just give us the ball, bro. We gotta have the ball right away.
And why then are people still defending Bryce Young?
Because what is that? Oh,
Jesus,
God, Greg.
No, it's not. It's not Jesus.
He's played 2 games.
Bryce.
What does he got to do with the other 51 games where we didn't do
let
that?
me ask you. What are we going to do for the rest of the season?
Greg,
do you think the rest of the season we're going to do
what does that have? Greg, though, honestly, what does that
have to talk about Bryce?
That has to do with the fact that we traded 2 first-round picks.
We didn't trade 2 first rounds.
We did trade 2 first-round picks.
No, we didn't. We traded 1.
We traded this year's and next year's, and this year coming up and next year's, and DJ Moore.
No, we got a first-round pick. We got him this year.
So we. Okay.
You only trade 1 for
you
technically,
it's all Bryce's fault.
You're right.
Doesn't matter that the entire team is fucking hurt.
Nope.
It doesn't matter that there's a brand.
But just think of that
staff.
stat, Greg. You can hold on to your Bryce stuff. But listen to the stat. That has nothing to do with Bryce.
Bryce's fault.
Actually, the stats have everything to do with Bryce. The fact that Bryce couldn't hit wide receivers that we said couldn't get open, then all of a sudden go for 141 yards and a touchdown should have been 2.
And just don't look. I think that's a different discussion.
No, you're being a Bryce lover right now. Is what
no. Listen to the stat.
Giving him
one more
no
time.
blame for anything.
Listen to the stat one more time, Greg.
Okay.
53 games.
Okay.
Where the Panthers have not led. They have lost.
That right there has nothing to do with Bryce.
That's what we just said.
That you're saying has nothing to do with Bryce.
And then you came in and
that's the team that he's on.
Because Bryce was supposed to change
that's the team that he's on.
Bryce was supposed to change it.
It's guaranteed to overcome
we gave up
that.
2 first-round picks from DJ Moore for Bryce to change that, and he can't.
Not in 2 games, Greg. Like that's the thing is you cannot expect that to happen in 2 games. Like here's the thing. All right.
An 0-53 stat is like Bryce comes in and guess what? The 2019 Panthers were better.
What do you feel like do to change point in time? I honestly don't think there's a thing that he could do.
Like he could have not thrown 2 interceptions in the first game and maybe 2 touchdowns, and then maybe thrown.
Then that stat would have been what? Guess what that stat would have been?
Done what CJ Stroud done.
My question is moving forward. What can Bryce Young to change your mind? Because I'm not convinced there's anything he can do to make you feel like he's going to be the guy. I really don't.
No, he can. If he can get the ball down the field and score touchdowns, then he's my guy.
Okay, so
if he can throw for more than 120 yards in a goddamn game, then he's my guy. Okay. Don't say it can't be done because
150
13-year Andy Dalton just did it.
So again, against a completely different defense that had a. No, it's not.
See what I'm saying? Always moving the goalpost.
It is not. Oh my God! Moving the goalpost. It is not moving the goalpost. You're talking about a completely battered secondary in the Seahawks. We were talking about playing against all-pro secondary with Bryce Young first week and second week, right? Sure. Name one. Let's be honest. Name one defensive player on the Seahawks team in the secondary last week. Name one.
He can't. And on top of that, let's just go back to the stat.
You're right. I can't name a secondary player.
All right, Greg, hold on.
That's bad.
Right there means that they are that much better.
Stop. Cody, read the stat. Read the stat one more time. Actually, before you read it, just think about what the number was before this past week. So it was 0-52. Mm-hmm. So now read the stat.
Gotcha.
The Panthers
that right there means I'm wrong.
53 in the last 53 games where we trailed at any point in time. What I want to say is this. It doesn't matter what we point out tonight. We're going to look at all the inadequacies of this football team. We're going to look at the defensive injuries, which are piling up. We're going to look at an offensive line, which I'll show you in a little while, is on pace to be one of the worst offensive lines statistically in history. And it doesn't matter. All of that is going to be Bryce Young's fault. And
I don't even
Greg,
want. I'm not. I want to almost say that he's not allowed to say his name. But the point, Greg, is we don't care about whether or not you're right or wrong on Bryce. What we're talking about here is the Panthers have gone 53 games in a row where they started out trailing, and they were unable to win that. 2 of those were with Bryce Young, and 1 of those was with Andy Dalton. The other 50 of those were with different teams with different players. Else. The point is this has been a quicksand mud slog for Carolina Panthers. And going back to the original question of, is this worse than being 0-3? I really am concerned, super concerned, that we're going to take this out too quickly on the coaching staff. And not that the criticisms of the coaching staff are unwarranted, right? Not that concerns about the coaching staff are unwarranted, but ultimately what Greg does for Bryce, we're going to do for Frank right now.
Right. Which is
to not believe,
right?
To be an unbeliever.
All of it. That's crazy how that works out, right? Oh my
God.
God.
I'm just saying we're like already, do you not think it's wild that we're already out? We're 3 games in, and there are legitimate people who have been fans of this team for a long time who are already like, fuck this coaching staff.
No, I think it's crazy that you guys say fuck this coaching staff and Bryce Young gets
I didn't say that.
That's my issue.
I didn't just say that.
Right, I know you didn't.
You're not even listening.
I'm talking about everybody else. That's my issue. It's not just Frank Reich.
No, there's a ton of people that have already jumped on the anti-Bryce train, dude.
Frank
there
Reich
are already
the same
2 weeks.
Bryce Young is new quarterback, new coaching staff, new players, everything. The same situation Bryce is, but we don't give him the same credit.
Read the super chats out, please.
Certainly. Shout out to Brandon Sampson for the $4.99. Says, question for you guys. Do you think the Wilkes team with Donald and Foreman would be 0-3 this season if given a chance? That's a great question. I would venture to say no, because I don't think that if you have the same offensive line that the Panthers are currently working with right now, with 2 guards in rotation and a left tackle that is drastically underperforming compared to his draft stock, then I'm inclined to say they probably wouldn't look too much different. White Chocolate Espresso with the 199 says, remember 04 going 1-6 and ended the season 7-9. All right, so maybe there's a reason to be a little bit hopeful. C3 Anthony says, Greg, please enter the transfer portal, please, dude. Go get a blurry from the stats and suck it up. He's our quarterback. This is all you think about.
Sure. There is one truth going. Look, is we do have to just say at the end of the day that the guy that we have chosen to build this team around, whether the fans wanted him or not, whether anybody was unhappy with the pick, he is the quarterback that they selected.
Yeah, and by the way, everybody was also saying this about Tua Tagovailoa, even myself, a couple of years ago. And by the way, that dude's kind of fucking tearing it up by now. Also, I remember last year when Greg. Another thing that Greg seems to forget is last year he was telling me how terrible Trevor Lawrence was, and he's a bust, and he's overrated.
And guess what? Trevor Lawrence is not doing that.
He's this and that. And a lot of so is Joe Burrow. So is Joe Burrow. A lot of players are not doing good this year. So is Joe Burrow. There's been a bunch of players that have not looked up to their traditional standards, but it's very early in the season. And Greg, one of the things that we're going to have to do, whether you want to or not, is give this team and our quarterback some time to develop. And 2 games is not enough time to determine whether or not he is or isn't the answer for this franchise at this point in time.
Even on top of that, I'm going to have to say this is I've got a whole season. I've got a whole off season to go. I'm going to need you to dial it back a hair. And why I say that is not the opinion. I don't need you. What I need is this, or what I hope. I get really irritated when it comes to politics now and to sports when it's more about being right than it is about caring about being better. And so, like, I think so many people in politics just want to say, I told you so. I just told you so. Told you were wrong. Told you were right. Told you were right. And all I want to do is say, look, it's okay to be critical. It's okay to have good opinions. Look, even somebody said, look, it's like all opinions we are all welcome to all opinions. But I do think I get tired of receipts, people. On the internet, there are people that will go and troll your Twitter timeline and pull up shit that you said from 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. So right now I'm talking about today and tomorrow going forward.
Right.
And speaking of today and tomorrow, we just got a super chat.
2 of them. Another one from White Chocolate Express. No, 3 of them, pardon me. Faded Cat Meow says, I am not impressed with the wide receivers. White Chocolate Espresso says, blame the coaching for the false starts too. And C3JJ says, Andy had 20 more pass attempts than any game Bryce has had. Also, garbage time, 75 yards, and touchdown on top of playing the worst.
Just like Bryce had the week before.
We played this season.
This is a perfect time, Greg, for you to ask the question to me that you have been that you wanted to ask. We talked about it before we went on the show, and that's a good segue right there. And it was about Andy Dalton. He doesn't even remember. Do you remember?
No, I don't remember the question. No,
Okay. Well, going back to me. All right. Well, then I'll ask the question myself. Is that I came out here. Yeah, perfectly. I came out here very upset on the post game show.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I was upset. And I was very definitive that I was unimpressed by this team, period. And whatever goodness you could say, I didn't want to hear, particularly about the offense. I didn't want to hear none of it. And, I went back and watched the game. And I read some of the comments, too, that people left in the chat afterwards, like people. And someone said, if you didn't think this offense was any better, you didn't watch the game. And I think, too, is that we get so, I guess sometimes we get so literally attached to the words that look, and I use the words, so I got to sit and hang on them. I went back, and I still don't think this offense is substantially better or was better than the previous 2 games. Now, I will concede a couple of things. And I will look, were they more productive? Yes. Were they able to score more points? Yes. And did they actually have some sort of passing attack with several downfield plays? Yes. So by the very standard and definition of you have to concede that the offense was better, marginal. But my thing is this, just marginally better.
Well, I do want to add to this conversation real quick, Tony. Andy Dalton, at least if you're believing the holy book of all things football, PFF, he was their number 1 rated player on the Carolina Panthers with an 80.3 offensive grade and a 79.1 passing grade.
He should be. But I went back and when I watched the game today, I still just look is that while the offense had more productivity, I think that its production was somewhat, I won't say misleading, but a little hollow. And not that the yards don't matter, is I don't feel like the offense was ever in command enough to truly win the game. And certainly they were put in a difficult position by the defense who just let them score at every turn. But I want to point this out, is that while they were able to accumulate more passing yards total and more points total than they had, like JJ said, they passed for over 20 more times than they had ever passed. I mean, he threw for 58 right. times. His completion percentage was not better. If you just look at passes completed, was not the best completion percentage of the season.
What was it?
He had 58 he was 58.6%. So he's under 60%.
Average is 59. So he's 1 point less than average.
Yeah, but guess what? Bryce Young in one game threw it 66% or 64%.
Cool.
So I'm just saying this.
How many yards?
Okay, let me get to it, Greg.
What I'm saying.
Let me get to it. Well, volume matters too.
Volume does matter.
Now,
You're
look,
right.
his yards per pass was more than Bryce Young's games, certainly. But here, the offense is not only just passing yards. That would be only one statistic to look at.
Right.
The run game was non-existent.
Right.
He was the Panthers were set. He was sacked more times than anybody all year. So Andy Dalton was sacked more. We gave up sacks. We gave up offensive penalties.
70% of the plays were pressure on the quarterback.
Right. So what I'm saying is that the point that I'm trying to make is that while the offense was productive in some statistical categories, it was fucking bad still. It was not a offense that imposed its will at any moment in the game. And in fact, the only reason that this offense was any good at all was because Andy Dalton was a veteran, and I think he trusted just the play call and the read. He didn't go through his read.
Adam Thielen too. Adam Thielen also.
Yeah. I mean, but like some of this was at the end. Adam Thielen's touchdown was at the end when it didn't really matter. You're already down 2 scores. The Panthers were only in this game at 2 times. 2 times they were in this game when they scored the DJ Shark touchdown at the end of the first half and they took the lead. Right? I mean, you're in. Okay. But then immediately you come out in the third quarter and you're down a lot. And then they pulled in at 14 minutes left in the fourth quarter. They pulled within 2. But immediately,
the game is gone. 14 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Oh, guess what? Guess what happened in the next? Guess what happened in the next 60 seconds? They scored again, and they scored again, and all of a sudden you're down more than 2 scores, Greg. The point is that you momentarily look. I'm not trying.
I'm sorry.
Why are you trying to fight?
I'm not.
You are. And the point that I'm just trying to make is that while there were these moments, they were so fleeting that it didn't fucking matter. Whether it be penalties in the last 10 minutes on offense, it's a complete failure on this team.
I want to add
total failure.
Listen, before Greg responds, I want to add.
Don't worry, he's getting a call from his daughter. He's got to run.
I want to add some context to this, and then if Greg can, I'd like to ask him a question. So the highest quarterback pressure percentage rates allowed this season amongst offensive tackles. As you can see, Ikem Ekwonu is up there with 8.7%. And
he was bad, dude.
According to PFF, the Panthers O-line has allowed 60 pressures in 3 weeks. That's on pace for 340 over the course of the season. The most that PFF has ever charted was 297. Now, Greg, I know you have to jump real quick, but my question to you is, are you saying that the Panthers just need to sit Bryce for the season and go with Andy Dalton and let Bryce sit a year? Or are you saying that you have already seen enough to determine that Bryce Young is a bust for the Carolina Panthers and undeniably is not the answer moving forward? You're muted.
I will say I'm not saying Bryce Young is a bust. There was somebody in the chat room earlier saying I said that. I'm not saying Bryce Young is a bust. I think Bryce needs time to develop in the NFL. I think that we were sold that Bryce was ready to go in the NFL, and he's not. And that's fine. He needs time to sit. We were obviously better with Andy Dalton throwing the ball last week. You just put up the pressure percentage and everything else you have there on the stats right now. That just shows that Andy Dalton did that much better, to be truly honest with you. Like, he did the exact same thing with the guys you said couldn't get open, and y'all are going to say, and once again, you're going to move the goalposts.
We're not moving the goalposts.
He played against the worst team.
We're not moving the goalposts at all.
You're saying that. We're not saying that.
I know you're not saying that. You don't have to say it.
You just said you're going to say. So
Greg,
look, just say what you got to say. Don't put the words in our mouth.
I'm not saying you're going to say you're moving the goalpost. I'm saying you're moving the goalpost because as soon as this stat that I show you shows that Andy Dalton was better, you're going to throw another stat in there to be like, well, but this. Well, but
is that
this,
not the whole point of? Is that also the same thing that you could be doing as well?
I could be, but I'm not.
So here's
if I'm not, why are you bringing
CK? You just went robot on us.
Oh, my bad. I don't know why it is, but here's my question. All right, if you were to really look at this and you were to be objective about this, Greg, can you not? Am I still robotic?
You're good now.
No, you're good.
Now you're
objective about what?
If you could be very objective and look at this like you're not somebody who's trying to look at it the wrong way, right? Okay. Can you look at the Seahawks defense and tell me legitimately that you believe they're as equal to what the Falcons and the New Orleans Saints are? Because if that's the case, then you are not being biased and you're using stats to look at your bias in the way that you want it to look like.
CK, you know what? You're right. The Falcons and the Saints are so much better than the Seahawks.
Don't be sarcastic about it. Just answer the question.
No, it's sarcastic when somebody says that I'm thinking one thing and they're not. But they're so much better that yes.
Are they better or not? Are the Seahawks better defense or worse defense?
They're so much better. Honestly, they went from 80 yards a game to 364 yards a game. You're right. They're that much better. That's the difference in the two. We played a top 2 defense, top 1 and 2 defense, I guess, in week 1, and we played a top or a bottom 32
you're not
defense.
You gotta put down the defenses and just have the real conversation, Greg.
But my point being, Greg, is the reason I asked that question is you're saying that you're going to put out a stat that shows that Andy Dalton is unequivocally better than Bryce Young, while at the same time ignoring the stat that is clearly showing that Bryce Young also had a more difficult task.
Well,
granted,
sure.
Here's my point.
Get it, and then I'm gonna interrupt.
Yeah. Here's my reasoning for saying that. Bryce is a rookie, right? Mm-hmm. You can compare CJ. Like, here's the thing: we're going to, and you're not wrong to compare CJ Stroud and Anthony Richardson and all that stuff, right? They also didn't have as tough of a game as Bryce Young had in his first 2 games of the season. When you're talking about the defenses they went up against,
right. AR only played a team that went to the second round of the playoffs last year. You're right.
You're right. He's only played 5 quarters, Greg. I told you I was going to interrupt.
I was going to didn't get the playoffs. You're right.
You go pick up your daughter and listen and think about this on the way.
Greg, you're completely biased.
You also have your robot.
You keep on going robot. I mean,
you might have to leave it come back.
Computer. I don't know what I can do. It's
okay.
Not much I can change about it.
Greg, you also said that Andy Dalton was a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Andy Dalton.
No, so if he is, right? If he is,
by the time he retires,
ultimately, it's not incredibly surprising that he would have more success than a guy who's played 2 games.
JJ wanted me to read this before Greg leaves. Bryce stats wasn't garbage time because we had an onside kick chance of winning. Andy was just getting that 75 yards and touchdown when he was down 3 progressions.
That's cool. I'm not saying Bryce is garbage time. I'm not counting those garbage time.
Go get your daughter. Go get your daughter. We got to move on through. It's 9:40 and we haven't even gotten into what I want to talk about. I don't even know where to go right now. What we got next? You know what? I do want to talk about this offensive line because I think in some cases we could talk about in the past it being injuries. In some cases in the past, we've been able to talk about bums, like Byron Bell. I used to fucking beat on him like crazy. Matt Khalil, total fucking trash. I think the scary part about this right now is where you want to talk about receipt shit that people love to do. All them motherfuckers that talk shit about Brady Christensen need to go apologize to the world. All the people that told us that Chandler Savala was fucking better than Brady Christensen need to apologize.
Everyone. That was basically almost every Panther fan.
Except for me and you.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Everyone's like, Zavala played next to Icky at North Carolina State. So that's what they need to do. And Brady needs to be a swing tackle.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well,
like a bench runner. He could start over every single. I bet you this is I'm willing to put money that Brady Christensen could play better than every single person on the line right now.
Oh, dude, you can make the argument
at
that
any position.
He is the best offensive lineman on the team.
I think it was scary to me. This is I saw, and God, I got to look it up. If anybody in the chat can find it, it was Pat Coltrane saw it. It was something about. Let me see if I can find it. It was Chandler Zavala gave up 15 pressures or something. And then and Pat in his typical funny ass fashion. I'm gonna pull Greg out just so we don't have a blank.
Yeah, I think we do this.
That he said, did he even play in the game? He had a 0 rating.
Pass blocking, yeah.
Yeah, 0. That's some fucking terrible shit. I think the scary thing for me, and I don't know if it's scary. I mean, I don't want to give up on anybody. Like, I am definitely not giving up on Frank Reich yet. I'm not giving. Like, I just think it's too short-sighted. I think it's too. We're bringing too much we're bringing our own trauma to the relationship in a way. And that is, imagine if you had like a very traumatic relationship with a partner, you get the divorce, and then like you go, you start to date somebody, you talk with somebody, and they show up late to the date. And no matter why they showed up late to the date, it's just like, this is fucking terrible. It can't work. And they could literally have like gotten hit by a missile on the way there. You're like, pfft. So I think 3 games in is too quick to quit on any single component. Maybe the season, the coaches, the players, certainly Mr. Bryce Young, Greg, certainly.
Oh yeah. And now that there's some rationale in here, we can say that comfortably.
Right.
But also,
the thing is that what is really concerning me, but just to finish the thought, Cody, is the thoughts that Icky was either a guard or was struggling pass protection. They're not getting better at all. Is that he not only the penalties weren't just a problem. If you go look at some plays or and casually watch the game, they're just beating him with speed around the side. And I don't think their defensive front is full of a bunch of fucking studs.
No. And by the way, check out the film room that's now coming out every Thursday here on the C3 Panthers podcast, where me and Pickle have been breaking down the All-22 film. His hand placement is terrible. Like, a lot of the times the movements and actions that he makes will give the defensive lineman across from him the advantage. He doesn't know how to use his hands placement. He doesn't know how to strike, how to keep people away from him. Listen, I hate to toot my own horn, but I've been saying this for a long time. Kim Ekwonu is best suited as a guard. That is what he should be. And as time goes on, I continue to be proven right in that sentiment. Right. And so, again, I also want to defend Chandler Zavala a little bit, because at one point in time, he was supposed to be a backup. Right. Then he's the starting right guard, which, by the way, he played pretty well. Chandler Zavala did all right on the right side. Then they move him to the left side, bring in Calvin Throckmorton. Calvin actually does a decent job, but then now Chandler Zavala having to move around to 2 different positions. Now he's just out there struggling next to Kim Ekwonu, who's also having a hard time and a hard go of things. It just seems like a recipe for disaster. And again, now that Greg is not here and we can get in a word edgewise, this is not a recipe for success for literally any quarterback that the Carolina Panthers have under center. If it's Bryce Young or Andy Dalton or Sam Darnold, it doesn't matter, man. You're not able to run the football and you're not able to pass protect. You're putting your quarterback in a bullshit scenario literally no matter what.
Right. And forgive me if my robot voice comes back.
You're good.
I'm of the mindset that the changes that we've had from last year to this year due to injuries has caused the not only Icky, but maybe even Bradley Bozeman to have a step backwards and regress a little bit. And it's not that I don't think they're capable of playing well, because they did last year. Like, Icky was very good at that left tackle spot last year. Right.
Only on but when we switched to a power run offense.
Right.
As there was a significant shift in the scheme that
Sure.
benefited his skill set.
Right. But even with that, like they didn't only pass though, right? And he still did well. He didn't allow any sacks until like the last game of the season, outside of the first 2 games of the season, right? Like he did a great job.
He showed signs of hope.
He showed more than that. He showed signs of being the reason why we drafted him at the position that we did in the first round, right? I think that his skill set is still there. It's hard for me to disagree with Cody because this year it has been so abysmal. But at the same time, I think that a lot of the issues could vary. I know you're saying that Zavala is getting the short end of the stick. I don't think it's that. I think Zavala, he hasn't played. He didn't have a lot of experience in college anyway, first and foremost, right? He was injured. He wasn't considered a top prospect. We were just hoping that the chemistry between he and Icky were going to, cause this to just be a natural shift here or a natural connection. I just don't know that we're going to see that with him. And I think that it is okay to blame Zavala for being a rookie and not knowing how to play in this league right now.
Yeah, well said, man. I mean, and all of the uncertainty as to what position he's gonna play, man. It's a recipe for disaster, and it's not good when you have a player who has not been on your team at all. And Calvin Throckmorton comes in, and according to PFF, he's like our highest rated offensive lineman. Right. More than Taylor Moton, more than
2023 wasn't a good year for the Carolina Panthers, but I'm trying to make 2024 a better one for myself. Get started on your resolutions with Factor so you're ready for the new year. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores, prep work, and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including keto options, calorie smart, vegan plus veggie, and more, plus over 55 weekly add-ons, you'll have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart your resolutions. Skip that overpriced takeout trap. Factor is cheaper and way more delicious than takeout. Get chef-crafted, restaurant-quality meals delivered right to your door, and they're ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes, which means more time for you. Head to factormeals.com/C350 and use the promo code C350 to get 50% off. That's code C350 at factormeals.com/C350 to get 50% off.
Kemekwana was a top 10 pick. There really does seem to be a stink around this team. And you hear a lot of people now comparing us to the Browns of recent years, to the Detroit Lions. And it's hard to shake that, man. And it's that same stat that I told Tony. 0-53 in the last 53 games where we've trailed at any point in the game. Dude, that is a bananas statistic, man. And I understand why fans are pissed off. And I disagree with something that Tony said earlier. You said, we set the bar too high. We expected much. And I disagree with that, Tony. It's not that we expected too much, but we expected better than this. And I don't think we were wrong in doing so.
I agree. I mean, I think it's kind of in the middle, I think that our expectations may have been too high, but what we need, we deserve better than this. Look, what do we got next? Let's keep going through. Let's push through some material right now. See what else is going on. As the offensive line has been stinking. We saw this. We saw the passing game put up numbers in this past game.
Yeah.
And then this leads to some questions about, are these receivers any good at all? Are they sorry, my daughter's trying to talk to me. Wait 1 second. I'm in the middle of a damn sentence. Are these numbers any good at all? Or are receivers any good at all? How is this changed? When I looked at the game, I saw a guy in Andy Dalton that when he saw a look, he just threw it. And he threw it, and I almost feel like Bryce Young sometimes in this moment is trying to go through his progressions too much, right? It's like, come back. It's just like, just throw it. And And then I also heard that Steve Smith said he asked him about the separation argument. He was asked on WFNZ or FNZ, whatever their call tag is. Mm-hmm. And he was hesitant to just say these guys aren't getting the proper separation. He said, yeah, I've seen that at times, but sometimes when you run certain routes, it's run to a spot. It's not about burn the fuck out of these guys.
Right.
Right. And so what we saw, what do we take away from this chart right here, and your thoughts on how the passing game improved with Andy Dalton at the helm?
I mean, yeah, listen, Adam Thielen had not only his best game as a Carolina Panther, but he had his best game since 2017 with 11 receptions for 145 yards. And again, we have another chart here is wide receiver separation. 2023, minimum of 15 targets through week 3. Bubble size is the amount of targets. And Adam Thielen, he's on the right side of the line. Generally, you want to be in that upper right-hand corner. And, I mean, listen, he did that. We've really been dependent upon his veteran ability and him being able to, take advantage of busted coverages and people kind of sleeping on the speed that he has, because a lot of people don't feel like he does have a lot of speed at this point. Okay, but he's a wily veteran and he's been doing a lot of good things, and he continues to get better, man. I think JT O'Sullivan, if people have been watching this drama between him and Adam Thielen, he's always talking shit about Adam Thielen. He might owe Adam an apology, man.
Yeah. And
until further notice, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but Adam Thielen is undeniably the number one wide receiver for the Carolina Panthers. By the way, real quick, hold on, Tony. Happy birthday to the real C3AP. I saw him put that in the chat room a little bit earlier, man. Happy birthday to you, man. And look, the birthday boy isn't giving us a birthday gift. How about that? With $10, he says, you're in a complete rebuild from coaching to players. This is how it goes. Quit with the we suck. Yeah, we do now, but the future is bright. Everyone is still gelling.
Let's go to the Brian Burns slide then and talk about the Steve Smith comments. I'm going to play Steve Smith comments from WFNZ today. He was on the Kyle Bailey show, and he was asked about Brian Burns and the extension. So we've got that coming up in just a moment. We've got your cat calls at 252-228-5098. But to your super chat first, happy birthday. Thank you for your generosity. On top of that is I reached out to Mike K. And I just sent him a text message. I said, look, I read your story, got some things. How do we approach the build? I'm almost just calling it the build at this point instead of a rebuild. Is just how do we build from here to next week and then on to next year, given our situation. So you want to start with that?
I thought that's what you wanted.
Oh, I thought we were going to go Brian Burns into that. But hey, look, this is
Brian Burns. I thought that's what you meant. My bad.
Well, it's got a little bit about that, and then we'll go back to the slides. He said this is first, go check out his story at or his work, Charlotte Observer. I'm a subscriber. He had a story put out today, 8 thoughts on the Panthers 0-3 star early messaging comes back to haunt Carolina, should I ever get it right. And a part of the story really talks about how the team may have been a little too vocal about how prepared they were to win now. And not that they shouldn't be advocating to win now, but they should also be considering this as an important step in a building process, right? And that should also kind of bring the message back to center a little bit and say, look, yeah, we're going to go try to win the division. Yeah, we think we got better. Yeah, we think, but at the same time, look, we know we're implementing new schemes. There's a lot of changes here, and this will not come without challenge, adversity, and potentially some disappointment. So I asked him, because what I texted him and what I was interested in is we brought this up in the post-game show. I think we brought it up last week. And it was just like, well, how do we progress without that first round draft pick next year? How do you, in a reasonable way, get better, not only from week to week, from this season to next season? And that's what I asked him, is like, kind of, what's a base plan? He said this. He texted me back. He said, and that makes me feel cool that Mike K texted me. A text from Mike K today. We're here. We ain't coming no more. We here. They have their second round pick next year, he wrote. They have a ton of cap space. If they continue to struggle, it'll be an early second. Top 35 picks are valuable, but they should be legit. There should also be legit free agents, players in free agency. If Burns doesn't reach a deal, and he was very clear here, right? He wanted to be clear. He was like, this is not a report. This is just talk. He said, if Burns doesn't reach a deal, they could franchise tag and potential trade him in theory. Not a report, I emphasize. I think the upside here is teaching. This is an overhaul on philosophy and system. So it sounds to me this is that while Mike K is talking about getting better week to week, and this is where the thing I think is important with Bryce, and this is why I don't really care what Andy Dalton did this past week. And not that I don't care. I mean, if it's better for Bryce's development for Andy Dalton to start until he gets fully healthy, I'm down for it. If it's better until this point that the offensive line is so atrocious that you get Andy Dalton in there and take the licks, I'm fine with it. I think this year, and Mike K has said it on the podcast several times, is about the year of Bryce Young's development. It's not about Bryce Young being a superstar today, but molding him into one that can become a star and become a franchise player. But it sounds to me that free agency is going to be a good way to progress this team in the absence of a first round draft pick, and not necessarily a wholesale fire sale of players, but potentially a deal or a trade if it is well suited for the Panthers to benefit from.
Yeah, absolutely. And CK, Tony, I don't know about you guys, but the two names that come to mind are very apparent, at least to me. It's Brian Burns and it's Jeremy Chin. And Josh Klein put this up, and I figured I'd add it to the show as a good discussion point. He said if the Panthers start 1-5 or worse, seems like a real possibility, I would not be surprised if they start making some phone calls about Brian Burns and whether 2 first-rounders, another pick, and a player is still a viable option. His first call would be Marty Herney with the Commanders. And, I mean, this is a great talking point now, Tony. I mean, it's something that we really need to start to think about, because I'm telling you, it is the worst possible look for the Carolina Panthers to have another terrible season, especially after the seasons that we've just come off of, to go into it, have one of the worst teams in the NFL, and that top pick in the draft is not even yours. Right. You're giving it to the Chicago Bears. See, at that point in time, they literally have no other point but to trade any assets that they have that could recoup some of that draft capital for them to not have all this egg on their face. Right now, they've backed themselves into a corner. In my mind, they have no choice but to be active during this trade deadline period.
You guys want to? Oh, go ahead, CK.
I was going to say, I mean, the thing that the question then becomes, this could go either way, right? You get rid of Brian Burns, you wind up being the Bears, right? You wind up being the Raiders, right? These people who trade away star players to get draft capital and still go nowhere. Or you can be like the Jaguars or the Jets, who should have been better if it wasn't for Aaron Rodgers going, away or what have you. Like all these people who traded away some of their best players in order to get draft capital, and they were able to build a superstar team, right? It could go either way. And that's the thing is like you look at the history of it being successful and you're like, let's pull the trigger. Let's go ahead and like we want to hold on to these players for so long that by the time that they are going to be leaving the Carolina Panthers, there's no value to the Panthers whatsoever. And it sucks.
Or by the time you're good, they're not anymore.
Right, exactly. And so let's talk about the Christian McCaffrey situation. We waited until there was less value for him because of injuries and all that stuff to be in this position where we were able to trade him for not even a first-round draft pick. Who in the right mind, looking at Christian McCaffrey right now, would believe that he just shouldn't be a first-round draft
There's
pick?
an argument we just didn't ask enough.
Right.
Is that maybe you couldn't get enough. Maybe you're right, TK, in that. Like,
how many running backs are going for first-round picks?
Well, good point.
Christian McCaffrey would.
Right now he would.
Yeah.
But I think this is so much situation and I don't even want to go back into the past and say we should have done these things different. I think at this point that's just us spinning our wheels, and instead I'm interested in what we're going to do today, tomorrow, and in the future. And I will be happy to say I'm happy for Christian McCaffrey. I'm happy to see.
How could you not be?
To go see a player, though, who is in their prime, to go to a team that is capable of capitalizing on that.
Right.
And I continue to revisit Steve Smith's career and secretly wanting him to be traded to the Colts or the Patriots. Actually, there's a video that just came out. I don't know if you guys saw this cool video, and Tom Brady's doing this. Like,
with Patrick Bet. Yeah, he's with
TED
Patrick
Talk or
Bet
some
David. I love Patrick Bet David. I've been following his channel for a long time. I
just ran across it on like TikTok, and I saw one clip because Steve Smith retweeted it, and he said we almost did it, and I think he almost went to the Patriots instead of the Ravens, Steve Smith, but he ended up with the Ravens, and Tom Brady was just so complimentary of Steve Smith because he said this: I never liked players on other teams. I fucking wanted to go to war with my people. And he said
he had that anger about him.
Yeah. And Steve Smith is a guy that would it was like, so I thought that was cool. So I don't want to go say what we could have done better, but I just want to say this is like, it just would suck to see a premier fucking talent waste away on any team.
Right.
So I do think it's nice just to see Christian McCaffrey have success. That's it.
Absolutely. And by the way, we're like low key, we were kind of hoping the same for DJ Moore, that he finally would have been that missing piece.
Poor guy, we shipped him to the fucking worst desert than anything.
I know.
You want to see bad quarterback play, Greg? Look at Fields, and I'm owning it. I said I wanted Justin Fields, and he has progressively gotten worse and worse and worse. And maybe they're using him wrong. Maybe they're trying to figure out what he is too much. I don't really care. But I do want to talk about Brian Burns. But before we do, let's read this super chat.
Yeah, well, I wanted to read two super chats. James E. with the $4.99 says, Tepper has tricked us to believe we are always one big player or one coach away. Unfortunately, it's time for us to wait and let the team develop.
I think we've been part of that problem too. I don't think it's just Tepper. I think the C3 Panthers podcast has been. I would say this. I don't know. I'm not going to speak for you two. I think that I will drink the Kool-Aid at any moment. I will. Like, it's like this. It's it's free agency time. Fucking give it to me.
Yeah, we all drink it sometime. You know. That's not wrong. And then the stats, but $5 says if the Panthers lose to the Vikings, Lions, then Dolphins would make us 0-6 into the bye week. Texans.
I told you this is going to happen. It's going to happen.
Texans, Colts losses would be a huge blow to us and confidence, especially considering they both have the rookie quarterbacks that we opted to pass on. And yes, Greg and the Bryce Young naysayers would be insufferable in those scenarios. Yeah.
I do. I'm not picking the Panthers this week. But as we talk about Brian Burns, this was an interesting talk. Steve Smith was asked about him on the Kyle Bailey show. Here is Steve Smith.
When you look at edge rushers, tone setters, and $200 million quarterbacks, quarterback pursuers, They impact the game every play. Double team, single team, whatever it is. TJ Watt, Nick Bosa, at his prime, Khalil Mack, Von Miller. There are players, right, when you talk about in this upper echelon, that you must account for them every single play in the run and in the pass. I'm not saying that Brian Burns does not deserve a contract. I'm just saying when you ask him for the whole kit and caboodle, that means you got to play every kit and caboodle play.
And this is not him saying taking plays off. It's just product. I did see, go back and watch, gosh, I think it's around the beginning of the fourth quarter. That Chardonnay guy that was running for the Seahawks. He ran right up the middle. Brian Burns was there with linebacker. And it was just like, I mean, it was already a negative play for the Panthers defense. And Brian Burns didn't make the tag. And I'm just cherry picking a play. You know, I just saw, but it just stuck out to me. I go, oh, that was number 0 right there, and struggling to make the tackle at that moment. Now, he's nicked up. This is the reason that the very fact that he's banged up right now is the very reason that he is trying to push the contract so hard at those moments, or we're hoping for it. What do we got next? Well,
I wanted to add on to what you just said, Tony, because I believe that you were right. And you basically said that he's all speed and no power. And basically, when you bulk up to 160 pounds, you expect him, or 260 pounds, you expect him to be able to convert that speed into power and have that bull rush that it doesn't matter if you're a 3-4 defensive end or a 3-4 outside linebacker or a 4-3 defensive end. You expect that type of edge rusher who's asking for that type of money to be that type of a game changer. And listen, I've been a Brian Burns fan for a long time. On many occasions, I said he is one of, if not the very best player on the entire team. But as a fan of his, it's not unreasonable to look at him and say, dude, he doesn't do what TJ Watt does. He doesn't do what a Myles Garrett does. He doesn't do what a Von Miller in his prime did, or a Khalil Mack,
what Julius Peppers did.
Yeah, I mean, go on and on. It's not to say that he's a bad player, but I mean, you have a fourth round. I've said
this. He's very good. He's not. Well, I'm not going to make a definitive statement. It's just the idea is there are 5 other players easily I would take that I would select if I was on a draft right now ahead of him at that position.
Yeah, so, I mean, you wouldn't be wrong. You wouldn't be wrong.
No, I mean, but it's one of those things is, do I want him on my team? Yes. Do I want, but he, like you said, the whole kit and caboodle is just about, and so maybe the Panthers aren't as ridiculous for not just backing up the Brinks trucks out of desperation that we think.
Right.
All right. What do we got next?
Especially if we trade him. That would be
I want to push through because you said you like is the injuries. We've already talked about injuries. CJ Henderson injury might be difficult for us. Going forward.
We sort of glossed over this one, so I want to bring it back up. Xavier Woods expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks.
I mean, he might be on the IR next week before you know it.
Yeah, I mean, this is another blow to our defense, man. You move or you lose J.C. Horn. We still don't know what happened with Frankie Louvu and whether or not he's going to be playing. C.J. Henderson is hurt. Like, one of the things I literally said before the season started is that if we stay healthy, yeah, we might have a team that's going to be able to contend. But if we're depending on depth, Oh, baby, we are dead on arrival,
and that's every team really in the NFL.
Not every team.
They are. Every team is hobbled. If you take out key players from any team, injuries can derail the best of seasons. I mean, just look at the Jets.
But some teams have far better depth.
Sure, to others, weather it.
And even comparatively, the Panthers are bad.
The problem is when your starters are already questionable.
Yeah.
And what I mean is questionable in talent. And so what it is like the depth can fill in when you've got really great players around them that can make them play loose and free and better. But when they got to come in and play real significant dependent roles, that's the problem. It's like when you're like all of a sudden you need CJ Henderson to be the shutdown corner of the team. You don't need him to just come in and play well on the other side of JC Horn. And you got good rotation. You got some other players that can help him out. What you need him to do is go and become a different level of player. Right. And that is it's just unreasonable to believe that can happen. So I think that's where the depth meets healthiness, Cody, is like you have to have a degree of really good players that can help those good players, because everybody in the NFL is good to a certain degree, become better. You know, it's like this is like it's asking. The problem is no matter how good the Jets defense is, no matter whatever, is Zach Wilson still Zach Wilson? He's not becoming better. But if you were to ask a third receiver to step in and all of a sudden he's having big ass games, that's a different story. I think Frankie Louvu, that injury hurts a ton for us. For me, I think sadly people are going to be crazily surprised at how much they wish they had CJ Henderson if he doesn't play. I'm telling you. And
we're not. I wouldn't say you're wrong.
Mad world.
Well, then who the hell? You know what I'm saying? Wait until you think this. You think you don't like CJ Henderson? Wait until the other guy who you don't even know his name is playing.
But when they give up every play the same way CJ Henderson does, who cares?
Yeah, I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Who cares if you can't defend one play? CJ Henderson can't defend one play.
Getting burned isn't getting burned.
I know. I'm on the different side of this.
And by the way, like that's looking forward to Minnesota. These are 2 0-3 teams right here, both coaching staffs, the Vikings and the Panthers, are saying that this team is better than 0-3. However, if you're a Panthers fan, almost no one is picking the Panthers to win. I mean, when you look at our corners and knowing they're going to have Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, dude, that's really
I don't even care about any of the players, man. I care about Justin Jefferson played the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yep.
They double teamed him on every play. He still had 150 yards receiving. Yeah. They double play. Like they tried to do. I heard this is that Bill Belichick has only had one time in the last 14 or 20 years or some crazy stat where the best player on the other team had their best game or something. And it was Demaryius Thomas in 2012 had 150 yards. Like what Bill Belichick does is takes your best tool away. And he says, just whatever it is, beat us somehow else. The Chargers tried to do that to the Vikings. And they couldn't. Imagine double teaming a guy.
Chargers. Oh, yeah.
They could not take him away. I don't know how he's that fucking good. I don't even know. And gosh, give some fucking kudos to Cousins on the just being able to make shit happen. I'm not picking the Panthers to win this week.
I can't. I can't. And
I think it would just be thinking with your heart rather than your head.
Here's the thing. This is the game to put Bryce Young in, because then the argument that we're having regarding whether the Seahawks are a worse defense than the first 2 teams is irrelevant. If
Not if he's still hurt.
Well, not necessarily. What I'm saying is, like, if he comes in and he's actually able to play, I'm not talking like if he's going, he should be 100%, right? If he's not 100%, let Dalton continue to take the reins. It's not like we're missing a tremendous amount. This year is already seeming like it's going into the toilet. But
his name when Greg's here.
If he is healthy, going up against this Vikings defense is a best cure for, at this point in time. What we're seeing from their defense has been absolutely abysmal. So all of a sudden now we have the question of whether or not it's a matter of defense or quarterback play. And this game would solve that issue.
Mozzie Man says the Chargers won. They did win.
That's why I was wondering when you said that.
But Justin Jefferson had 145 yards and a touchdown.
The Vikings lost, but it wasn't
Adam Thielen had 144
It wasn't because Justin Jefferson wasn't incredible.
Right, and this is the thing: is he was unstoppable. He's unstoppable, dude.
That's what embarrasses me. Like, look at when other teams draft wide receivers, who they end up being, versus when we draft wide receivers, and we're like, oh, dude,
we got a curse. You know what it is? Is we drafted Ray Caruth. He turned out to be a crazy murderer, and he cursed us.
Let me ask you though: is it
the Ray Caruth curse?
Is it more likely that we draft and pick up 20 wide receivers and none of them are good, or that we have 4 or 5 quarterbacks and those quarterbacks just can't get it done?
Bro, which is more I can read them all them receivers off. Okay. You know what? Both could be true, but I can tell you this. Let's start. You want to go down the fucking list of terrible ass fucking receivers?
You can at least admit that those two positions are dependent upon one another.
They are, and I'm not defending that our wide receiver core has been fantastic.
The best receiver we have drafted since Steve Smith is Brandon LaFell, homie.
Actually, you're wrong. It's Kelvin Benjamin, unfortunately, but
nope,
it is.
Kelvin
Moore. Benjamin had a better. DJ Moore.
DJ Moore was better than Kelvin Benjamin.
Definitely better than Kelvin Benjamin. I'm not arguing that.
Brandon LaFell, greater than both of them.
And hold up, I don't even love this, but I would also say Devin Funchess over Kelvin Benjamin.
Brandon LaFell went on to the Patriots
and had that argument. I'm not disputing that. Yeah,
Greg, you want to talk about the bad quarterback shit? Brandon LaFell ended up having 12 touchdowns or something with Tom Brady. 1,000. Yeah, he left. You know what I'm saying? Is this?
That's what I'm saying. The wide receivers aren't bad.
I don't even want to fight. I'm not trying to fight. Yeah. But I am going to tell you this: is having 2 wide receivers that are worth a shit in Carolina is our fucking curse. And we've always been trying to do it. We went from it was Steve Smith and Masim Muhammad, and then we couldn't ever replicate it. Then you try to get Dwayne Jarrett, Kerry Colbert. Kerry Colbert was actually pretty damn good, even though he was just okay.
Edwards. You remember that?
Yeah, but he wasn't even he's not even on my list of tries, but okay. But still, look, is it just, I agree, Cody. We talked about injuries. Did you, man, there's a fine coming for this hit on Andy Dalton, bro.
I think so.
Like the first hit of the fucking game, too. He headhunted Andy Dalton. That's that picture there in the bottom. Yeah. I'm surprised Andy Dalton walked out of that, man, after that.
So,
he's had a concussion.
All of the injuries that we have, it seems like whenever teams go headhunting on Panthers quarterbacks, that's acceptable to every NFL referee. Go figure. Bryce Young, this is questionable. Frankie Louvu, also questionable. He left Sunday's game with a hip injury. We know Xavier Woods is out 4 to 6 weeks. And Jonathan Mingo, our second-round draft pick, he left the game with a concussion, and he is also listed as questionable. And that's the thing right now when it comes to Jonathan Mingo, even talking about the potential of not having him, I don't really even know what effect it has on the team because I feel like it hasn't even been a dependable weapon through this point in the season anyway.
Right.
Can we go ahead and since we were talking about Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins, can we go? Let's switch to the preview match of the Panthers are hosting the Minnesota Vikings. Then they go on to play the Lions. It's a tough stretch here, man, for the Carolina Panthers. And arguably the Vikings are the most beatable team of the bunch, if possible here. Right now, while we could say that the Vikings defense is terrible, CK, turns out the Panthers are much better after last week. They did give, I'm sure the last week put a lot into it, but right now is overall the Minnesota Vikings are ranked higher. These are PFF metrics, by the way. I just pulled this up. So look, the problem is our offense is ranked 30th. Their offense is ranked 5th. And regardless of whether our defense is better, their defense is better, or how bad each are, and I think ours is hobbled so much by injury at this point. Yeah. The problem is that the gap between those two is not as big as the gap between the two offenses. Their passing game is just efficient right now. The Vikings are favored by 3.5. The over under is 45.5. And again, this is Kirk Cousins, a veteran. After 3 games, Bryce Young, they're still looking at Bryce Young's 2 games missing that. PFF does not have Dalton up there versus Cousins, but the quarterback advantage is clear at this point. And Justin Jefferson are putting in work. You might even add that Cam Akers is going to be playing for them now. Isn't that who it is? Or Austin Eckler, which is the one that got traded?
Austin Eckler's still injured.
So. Then it's Cam Akers just got traded to the Vikings. I always confuse their names. So now they're adding another running back to the mix, right? So tough matchup for the Carolina Panthers. Let's go around and do our picks real quick. I've got the Vikings winning this game. I'm not picking the Panthers to win a game until I see them win a game. I'm going to be picking L's until they get a W. So I got it. And we've skipped our picks for the last 2 weeks. We made that spreadsheet. We said we were going to be all good about it. We didn't do shit.
Oh, yeah. We completely forgot.
We've been jumbled the last 2 weeks. So,
well, we had such a crazy long shows too.
Yeah.
All right. So let's just do this. Is anybody picking the Panthers to win this week?
No.
Egg?
Because I know everybody isn't. Yeah, fuck it, dude. I'll say 23-20. Carolina.
I think that if Carolina starts Andy Dalton, that we're going to lose by less. But I think regardless, we lose.
All right. So
we knew that, Greg. Well, and by the way, literally, the only reason why I say that is because the Panthers are dumb enough to win a game that we're not supposed to a couple of times every season, and I feel like most people are going to be predicting the Vikings to win this. But remember, the Vikings
just beat the Cowboys.
And the Vikings also have some terrible luck themselves. So I would,
they should trade Kirk Cousins to the Jets.
Hoping for a tank this season is
dumb,
futile. Yeah, like
for who?
Why for Carolina? Why would you hope for a tank?
Well, we would get a higher second round.
We don't have a pick next year.
We have second.
Why would you hope for a tank? Seriously,
I'm not hoping for a tank. Anyway, we're not talking about that. We're not talking about that.
We don't have to. No, we don't have to. I just want to add to it that part of a tank would be trying to get more picks, which means you might trade a Brian Burns or a Jeremy Chin if you were going to lose out. That's all that is.
All right, what's your score? What'd you say, Cody? What's your score?
I'll say. Let me go long. I'm going to bring that down. I'm saying 17-14 Panthers.
What the fuck are you even thinking? All right, I'm going to go something high. Like I'm going 35-17 Vikings.
God damn you! That was the exact same thing I was going to say.
All right.
We're
no sympathy for you right now.
Same thing I was going to say.
Well, then then say the same score. That's fine.
I'm saying the same score. Yeah,
right.
35-17.
What are y'all saying?
35-17 Vikings.
There's definitely that part of me that thinks
okay, all right.
He
Don't
could have another
yourself.
Julio
CK.
Jones type of moment in the fucking bank.
Give us your score, and then somebody pull up the other matches for the NFC South because we do the other games too, real quick.
Right.
I'm going
40.
I'm going 49-28. The Vikings.
Holy shit.
Dude, we're talking about Kirk Cousins, who has the most passing yards in the NFL, the most touchdowns in the NFL, and the number 3 quarterback rated in the NFL. We're missing Xavier Woods. We're missing J.C. Horn, potentially C.J. Henderson. We're missing way too many pieces for me to think that
that's going to be a brutal ass post.
What did you say? 49 to what?
He said 49-28. I got it written down. All right.
I should probably change my pick, huh?
The Falcons play the Jags.
Oh, man, the Jags, what a disappointment.
Yeah,
team they are.
They have not looked well. I mean, they started last year. They didn't start.
I'm picking the Jags here. We don't do scores on the other games. I'm picking the Jags. Do you
Jacksonville
know this?
Is it in Jacksonville or Atlanta?
Do you know this is
Jacksonville?
Crazy.
It actually no, I'm sorry, it's in London.
Oh, okay.
It's 9:30 Sunday.
Desmond Ridder has more pass attempts and completions than Lamar Jackson. Desmond Ridder has a better touchdown to interception ratio than Lamar Jackson. Who's starting the Desmond Ridder are greater than Lamar Jackson? Fucking God. Oh my God. I got the Jags. CK, what you got?
I got the Jags. I think this is the right game for them.
Yeah.
Jags.
Okay, I'm gonna go Falcons then.
Just the contrarian.
So
contrarian. Who the Saints got?
I gotta catch up. Yeah, Saints are playing the Bucks.
Oh gosh, I'm picking the Saints
in New Orleans.
Yeah, Saints for me.
Now I don't know. Is Derek Carr playing?
It's still week to week. They haven't given a.
What did he do wrong? What happened to him?
He's got a strained AC joint on his throwing shoulder.
Ooh. Well, guess what? I still think they win with Jameis.
Who are they going against again? He said
the Bucks.
Tampa Bay. Are they in Tampa Bay or New Orleans?
No, it's in New Orleans.
I don't. That's a tough one to pick right now.
All right, y'all.
I'm gonna call Saints.
All right.
So,
you gotta pick it, CK. You can't say it's tough. You gotta pick it.
I'm sorry. I have to go Bucks.
All right, fine. Okay. You don't have to apologize for your pick. You got Saints. All right, and that's it, right? Boom.
That's it.
Okay. Can we take a call? Actually, you know what? Before we do take a call, don't forget the show's sponsored by Manscaped. Manscaped.com, promo code Panthers. Get you 20% off your order. Folks, NFL time's here. You got to keep your life ready and prepared at any moment for a victory. And that victory could come at any day, any time. And you don't want to be an unshaven
Chewbacca.
Chewbacca, barbarian. I was just trying to think of something that wasn't going to be like ridiculously
putting
upsetting.
a Furby in your pants, man.
Right.
Come on.
Don't want your thingaling looking like a little baby bird perched on a nest. Like a overgrown nest. You're like, why did that bird get so much stuff around its nest? That nest is over prepared. Instead, you have to over prepared and be a big eagle that soars, a hawk that attacks. Be ready.
A bald eagle, right?
Well, I mean, you could be a bald eagle and not have any nicks or scrapes or burns or bruises. It could smell great because you have the crop preserver. You have the ball deodorant. You have a wonderful clothing line that you walk outside and everybody's like thinking about your balls the whole time because it says Manscaped on the back. Your balls will thank you. And then they go, oh, I bet you he's got beautiful balls. And then you go, you know what else is beautiful? This wonderful toiletry bag I got from Manscaped. Because all these products are beautiful. Manscaped.com, promo code Panthers, gets you 20% off plus free shipping. Don't be unprepared. Soar like a hawk. Attack. Be prepared. Don't be a little baby bird in a nest. Fly out of the nest and seize the day. Manscaped.com, promo code Panthers. Cody Latt, let's take a call.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty. You shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like.
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his nose? Who's that kid that can use one?
Hey man, it's Lou from Fort Myers. I know it's the third time I called. You know, it's like sometimes when you take a dump, you feel like I got more in me.
All right. Well, you know what? I'm playing them out of order, bro, because I got to take a leak, and this is a 3-minute call, so I'm safe.
Hey, man, it's Lou from Fort Myers. I know it's the third time I called. You know, it's like sometimes when you take a dump and you feel like I got one in me, you got to go run back to the toilet and then take it again. All right, bro. I just felt like I got one more call in me. It's okay if y'all play it or y'all don't play it. But listen, man, in my heart, man, hear me out. In my heart, man, I feel like just by not play calling, I feel like they are more confident with Andy Dolan than they are with Bryce Young. Like Bryce Young had a super vanilla offense, and that right there just says enough for me. Realistically, that just says enough for me. If they are more confident than Andy Dalton to open up the playbook, give him some plays, than they are with Bryce Young, I'm fine. I'm fine with that. Like I said, I'm not going to eat my words. I think Bryce should sit. Learn from Dalton. Every great quarterback was once a backup. Brady had Bledsoe. Rodgers had Favre. Love had Rodgers. Shit, even Patrick Mahomes had Alex Smith. Every great quarterback that was a backup at a point of time. And I feel like that learning on the job shit ain't flying, bro. It is not flying. Man, y'all can get on me for all these takes. But listen, fire Scott, Scotty Too Hottie, whatever you want to call him, because he got cold feet. I don't know what the hell going on. Right? I'm saying it now. You get him off. Fucking him and Bryce Young. I'll say this. Him and Bryce Young is giving me Matt Rule vibes. Motherfucking Matt Rule vibes. And why you say Bryce Young? Go watch the post-game interviews. Please go watch them. Talk about, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? No, Bryce Young, I don't know what you mean. I don't know. What do you mean you can't put up points? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I don't know what you mean, Bryce Young. And that right there shows me it's a lack of confidence. You are not confident in yourself. I go up in the stand and say some blasphemous shit before I say, you know what I mean? Try to have them relate to me. I'm the press conference. I don't play football. It's got to be something. It's either the coaching where they don't trust Bryce enough to make, because if you let him play through the season and he looks bad, y'all going to shit on him. Oh, he's a horrible quarterback, this and that, instead of giving him time to develop. Give him some time. That's all I'm saying. Don't think I'm a Bryce Young hater.
Look, I agree with most of what that caller says, to be truly honest with you. The only thing I disagree with is like
the Bryce Young part.
Well, no, it's not even the Bryce Young part.
Because the caller was saying sit Bryce Young.
I truly think that if we sit Bryce behind Andy Dalton, that it's going to be better for him. I don't think Bryce is a bust. I really don't. I just don't think he's ready quite yet.
Can I be honest with you? If our offensive line is going to be this bad, I would rather put Andy Dalton behind it than Bryce. Knowing that Bryce, whether you love him or hate him, Bryce Young is going to be the guy for at least the next 3 to 4 years.
Right.
They're going to build around him. If you're going to be playing, if you're going to be playing offensive line roulette, where you don't know who's going to be playing guard, you hope Austin Corbett comes back and makes a difference. But why put your young, undersized quarterback out there and throw him out to the wolves just to ruin his development even further? And again, I'm going to say something, and Greg is going to take this as me defending Bryce. I'm not trying to defend or go against anyone. It's just a matter of truth. A quarterback's final year in college before they're drafted, dude, they really don't get time off. They finish their final year in college. They immediately go into preparing for the combine, preparing for their pro day, preparing for the draft. Then they get a little bit of time off. Then they go into training camp. Then they have a whole nother season of professional football, which is, by the way, a longer season than they ever played in college football as well. It's a tall order, and there's a reason why a lot of rookie quarterbacks struggle in the NFL, just because, man, the past year for them has just been a murderer's row of schedule and what they're required to do. So, again, but Greg, the only thing I'm saying is that there isn't, it's not insanity to even say at this point in time that maybe you do let Andy Dalton out there and give him more of an opportunity while you're figuring things out on your offensive line.
You know, that's the, you know what is, if we would have said all those things, Greg wouldn't have been talking all this shit. Because what
Greg's
really we're
shit.
the ones that pushed Greg to this position. We made him like a desperate brat in a corner or squirrel trying to fight his way out.
Right about everything he's saying. But
And the point is that like the problem that Greg started, the reason he took the shovel out and started digging the trench was because we acted like none of that mattered.
Exactly. Thank you. Yes, sir. Exactly.
Well, to Greg's point, that's what he was billed at. He was the guy that is.
Well, we're part of that problem, Cody.
Well,
we're part of that problem.
We're part of
Put
the problem.
us as part of the media.
No. But we're not big. We're not a bigger problem than literally every other analyst that's worth their weight in salt, saying that Bryce Young has the mentality and the fortitude of a veteran, that there's no offense that's too big for him to be able to learn. When you have that kind of narrative, it's only inevitable that you're going to have people like Greg that are saying, well, this isn't what we signed up for. This is not the bill of goods that we were sold that was supposed to be better than the bigger, stronger CJ Stroud and the bigger, stronger Anthony Richardson. I'm not even saying that I agree with those takes, but I understand why people might think the way that Greg does right now.
I'm still excited by Bryce. I still think it's going to be the right pick down the road. I want it to be the right pick down the road. I will say that you know me, is like I will just every week you guys sold me a different player on the way to the draft. I do have a type, and my type is these big, wonderful black quarterbacks like Anthony Richardson and Cam Newton. So I was open to that. The problem here is this, and this is what the
BBQ.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my type. That's my type. That's my favorite porn tag. BBQ. Big quarterback.
BBQ, man.
The problem is this, is that when you have a guy like Anthony Richardson or CJ Stroud, where you say there's going to be a developmental curve, and then you say Bryce doesn't have the developmental curve, and it turns out he does have the developmental curve, it makes it fucking, you know what I'm saying, is that it was the problem is that they overhyped him, and we got to stop. You know, they did the same shit about Alex Smith.
Well, but I want
to. Bryce Young is Alex Smith, but shorter. He is the exact same player.
And you made that comparison a long time ago.
Thank you for remembering it. For someone who says they don't like receipts, every now and then I do.
Yeah, you like to drop your own
receipts. Motherfuckers. But no, is that the idea is that Alex Smith, it was Alex Smith and Aaron Rodgers in the same draft. And, you know, Alex Smith ended up turning out to be a very good quarterback. Not a great, but a good quarterback.
Right.
But it wasn't with the team that drafted him.
I think it was the third team he had. Right? He was the 49ers, then he went to Kansas City, right?
Yeah, and he made the playoffs with him and Andy Reid. He was the quarterback that Patrick Mahomes sat behind.
Yes. So
the point that I'm trying to make is that, look, this is what analysts get paid to do. This is, and to bring this to ECU, because you guys, of course, came on this podcast to listen to my alma mater who sucks. But they did shut out a team this week, which was necessary. They should have, because they're not an FBS. They're a whatever the team below, the league below, Gardner Webb. But they beat them like 34-0. They needed to. But the crazy part about this whole scenario is, for the ECU Pirates, is that there's this quarterback that they recruited 5 years ago. His name's Mason Garcia. He's out of South Carolina, somewhere in South, like Myrtle Beach or something. He's 6'5", 250. He is the highest graded recruit at quarterback that the team has ever had in their history. He's like a 4-star. Like we've never had. We get 3-star recruits, right? That's what our team does. We get 3-star recruits and they turn out to be 5-star players like Chris Johnson, Linville Joseph, Jeff Garrard. Like, I mean, they just outplay what people thought they were going to be. Mason Garcia was the highest recruit that we ever had in the stars. What's that stupid high school site?
Rivals.
You know it. Yeah. And they're the ones that rank all that. He had that. Yeah. And so the point that is that when you have a 24/7 media cycle, when you have 1 million people trying to make takes and manufacture discussion in the offseason, think about how hard it was for us times to just like be like, what the fuck are we going to talk about?
Well, I mean,
and the point being is they saw 6'5", 250. They saw this, and this, and they check these and they go, oh, best recruit ever. And I think sometimes we get too enraptured, too fascinated by just those people that said the same people said the same shit about Matt Rule. The same people. There's so many people that have been like this. And we just take it as gospel. The problem for Bryce Young is the gospel really is hindering him, because if he doesn't just exceed that and look like a pro caliber player from day one, he didn't meet their billing. But CJ Stroud is surprising you right now.
Well, and again, it also
he's over it. He's overachieving.
But it also goes to trust your own eyes, right? So these two things are not opposed to one another. I'm a believer that Bryce can still be a good player, but any longtime listener or a C3 fan who has been listening to us for over a year now knows that pretty much to a T, all of us before the draft occurred, all of us were on team CJ Stroud. That he was bigger, that he was a little bit stronger, he had a better touch on his deep ball, and we all really liked his ability to do some things down the field. I kind of compared him to like a Joe Burrow when I watched him on film. And then another thing is, you hear this about the S2 test, and remember, he only scored an 18 points compared to Bryce Young's 99 points. And that was the issue I took with it at the time. Now you're not talking about football anymore. Now you're talking about some dumb test that literally has fuck all to do with football. And by the way, it was built to evaluate baseball players. But now I
don't even think you have to negate that. I think you have to come back.
No, it was the new Wonderlic test that everybody was using to judge.
But go back to this: is that scores were leaked, Cody. But like, let's put some even more context. I'm actually going to support you on this in a case, and this is for someone that loves to make fun of people that take terrible score tests. I've been talking about Maurice Claiborne in his 16 on the Wonderlic, like the whatever he had. It was so bad. It was like it's like basically if you take the SAT and you only put your name in the box, but the scores got leaked, right? So this was a company failure in so many ways of the scores that came out. And the CEO or the company that runs the S2 test came out and he said, first of all, look, CJ didn't want to take the test. He had been on like a 2-day campaign of media blitz, and he took it at 10 o'clock, and he ended up retaking it. So, there's always caveats and context to things. Sure. So, look, the truth is generally somewhere in the middle. It's going to be a fact and truth that Bryce Young did better on this test.
Well, I want to read it. I'm going to read this off, and I'm going to pass the mic to Bat Daddy and CK. CJ Stroud, as of right now, is the new favorite to win Offensive Rookie of the Year at minus 310. And also, CJ Stroud is the first player ever with 900 plus passing yards, 4 plus passing touchdowns, and 0 interceptions in his first 3 starts. So we can do all the what ifs, put CJ Stroud on the Panthers, put Bryce on the Texans, do all the what ifs. Facts to the facts. Right now, the best rookie quarterback in the NFL is CJ Stroud.
I need to ask, did I call Stroud a dummy?
He
said called Stroud a dummy.
No, I think he meant just in general, people were saying that, oh, Stroud's dumb. He scored an 18 on the test. Must be dumb as oh, by the way, Ohio State quarterbacks never work out. Yeah. All these different tropes, and people continue.
Also, to get 3 games in, too.
Yeah, people continue to scout the helmet and not the player that they're actually watching on the football field.
Look, I made this comparison. You can go pull the tape when we were talking about this S2 test, and I said that I even brought up CK about how good he is at Call of Duty because he's good. He's real good. I want to play with him again. He's real good. But I don't think those skills transfer necessarily to real life
combat
happening.
Or football.
Just anything. I mean, it's the same kind of thing. You're talking about an actual virtual skill relating to. Yeah, I don't get it.
You didn't get it. You
I said at the beginning that the S2 score does not matter. We've seen tons of players not do well in these wonder licks and everything else and play great in the NFL. I want to see what I see on the field. What I've seen is only college stats going into the season, which is why I says CJ was a better pick. Now that we've seen a few games, I can say that I feel like I was right about that pick. I think now he may not have done as well in Carolina, but that's a big what if. That's the same kind of what if as Seattle being a better defense than
we say about
worse defense. Yeah, exactly.
Parts,
and if a frog had a glass ass,
Greg's going to gender change before you know it.
So,
can we, CK, you got something you're dying to say, or can we go to the next one?
Let's go on. Yes, go on.
Thank you.
What's up, C3? It's Anthony from Charlotte. Hope y'all are having a good Tuesday. Just wanted to call in, maybe give my thoughts on this upcoming game. I'm actually going to the game with my father because he's a Vikings fan. Haven't been to a game since obviously last season.
Dope. Have fun, brother.
Yeah, I hope we can pull out the win. We'll see what happens. The Vikings have gotten the better of us over the past 2 times we played them. It's going to be an interesting one. I really don't know what we should expect. I hope Bryce Young plays. I really don't want to sit there and watch Andy Dalton.
Why? You don't watch offense move?
Yeah.
I mean, on the field?
I think we have to. We're built to stop the pass. I mean, at least that's what I think the defense is supposed to be. And the Vikings are good against the pass, so we'll honestly see what happens. We need to win this week, though. It's very, very hard to convince a fan base after an 0-4 start that we can get anywhere. It's like near impossible. I don't think a team has ever started 0-4 and made the playoffs. So we have to win. There's no excuses. Frank Reich, I want to see better execution from you. I want to see this offensive line not get their ass beat. We are giving up way too many pressures, man. Missing Corbett and Brady Christensen is really, really hurting us, and it's really showing. So for all the people that say, like, you know, Brady Christensen wasn't that big of a loss, yes, he was. Zavala's not playing good right now. I know he's a rookie. But, yeah, we need to win. I hope we see Bryce. Haven't gotten an update on him. Yeah, I don't want to see the red rifle. I really don't. I don't think fans do either. It's just, like, you know what the season is. It's about Bryce Young's development. And with Andy Dalton out there, it's like, I just don't really care that much. Like, obviously, I'm still going to cheer for the team and stuff, but it's just not that entertaining to me. If we win, then, yeah, it'll be great. But, yeah, I do want to see Bryce. I hope we can establish some type of run game. You know, like, Seattle was not good against the run or the pass. They stuffed our run game. Minnesota has gotten run all over this season. Run all over. We need to run the ball. We need to get first downs. We need to put up points. Brian Burns, last thing, you better freaking show up because your disappearance has been felt. And I saw Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard cook second-string tackles last night. Anthony from Charlotte keep motherfucking pounding, boys.
I think one, Bryce Young not playing would make for Greg having very little say on this podcast. Psych, I'm just teasing. Yeah. I'm just teasing. The other thing is if you are completely underprepared for the NFL, then I could see sitting. I think the best way for Bryce to get better from week to week is to play. Unless, like people were talking about, where the O-line is an actual threat to his safety. If it's that bad, then you might have a ethical dilemma at hand, or it's not a cost investment dilemma of, is it worth it? Are you getting enough on each rep to risk the long-term health of a guy? Is it, that bad and untenable? I don't know if the line is that untenable. They did play terrible against the Seahawks, and they have progressively gotten worse each week. So that's one thing. I just don't see how Bryce Young, particularly if your go-to skill set is in your head, right? Like if your main attribute is you just being the most prepared, the best studier, this and that, then I think it's just getting in the game and learning pro speed and pro moments. And I think the best way you learn is by playing. And I don't think the NFL anybody has the patience for that really anymore. I think that's a thing of the past. I think holding on to the idea that Patrick Mahomes sat a year is an easy cherry pick because Patrick Mahomes became great.
Right.
The idea of a guy sitting behind a year and then getting another developmental year, and then you don't figure we don't have the patience for that. Frank Wright and them will not be around for year 3.
You don't think so?
They won't. I think it's really, it depends on how good or how good year 2 is. But I think what teams gave 3 and 4 years in the past is turned into 2 and 3 years.
Yeah. But I just want to add this.
Accelerated.
I'm going to add this and then pass the mic. My guy Pop from Black Cat says Cam didn't get to sit because his O-line was trash.
It's true. It's true. And my thing
Cam was also the best player on the team from day one.
He was.
And my thing is better than Steve Smith.
Yes.
Yeah, Steve Smith was on the shelf until Cam came around. People thought Steve Smith was done until Steve. But I would say, look, Cam also had one of the greatest college careers in the history of college football. That mug just steamrolled. And remember, he didn't even have training camp. They had a lockout. That motherfucker, this is what I always argued. I know people don't want to hear me talk about Cam. When I always argued about Cam was for the people that didn't love him, is that you would miss him when he was gone. Is that okay? Yeah, he missed that pass. He did things imperfectly. He was not the perfect quarterback at times,
right?
But he's the guy I want. It's just sometimes we always think about, it's almost like when you're in a marriage and your wife is just talking about all the shit you don't do. And then it gets to the moment and then you get a divorce and then you go, oh, fuck. I understand that person was flawed, but they helped my life. Yeah. Cam helped my life.
Oh, yeah, man.
He helped my life, motherfuckers. And more than going 0-3 has helped my life. Let's go to the next call.
Hey, guys, it's C3 Coach Kurt. Yesterday I called and I was a little under the influence, so I wanted to call back today. Not as much irritated or frustrated about the game and our team. But I just wanted to say, Adam Thielen, I think he's 33-year-old slot receiver, having 100+ yard receiving game and a tutty. That man played his ass off. So at the end of the day, in no circumstances in the NFL should a 33-year-old slot receiver be your best receiver. And it just, I mean, like, it could happen in a game, but overall, throughout these 3 games, he's looked our best and he's looked our most reliable. But there again, I mean, at the most, it's like, what, slants, low out routes, maybe something over the middle. You know what I mean? Like, our shots downfield are barely there. But that's just one point. Like, we need more targets. We need more weapons for whatever quarterback is starting for our team in the future. And then the discipline on the O-line. Like, man, I played freshman and sophomore football. Like, I was a DB and a slot receiver. And I'm not saying I know a whole lot about football, but I know you just don't fucking move until that fucking ball is snapped. That is just them losing discipline and losing focus on the fucking line. Like, that's all that is. Regardless of the snap count, use your peripheral vision to make sure that ball is moving or not fucking moving. That's just ridiculous. That is fucking beyond me. But I know we're probably going to, at some point, clean house. I don't know who we would give away and what we would get for giving anyone away, trading anyone. I think our best value right now, to be honest, is Frankie Louvu, and I would want to keep him. I want to keep Derek Brown. Burns, I mean, he's asking for top dollar and not performing. Like, we have a couple of pieces that we could trade, but detrimental to the team to lose. But, I mean, the coaching staff, Frank Wright, I mean, you guys brought in the offensive coordinator, let him do his job, let him make the plays. Other than that, I mean, we just need to make building decisions for the future and get rid of a win now mentality with a brand new team that has absolutely no chemistry. I think we just got to plan for the future, do things right. I mean, whatever right is in the fucking Panther world, but.
Kev, you're not my kid, so be quiet about this 27 points. Go back and what the last 7 points come in meaning. No, 20.
Oh, come on. But y'all give Bryce points. Young credit for the last 7
I'm
points.
not giving Bryce. I didn't mention his name, Mo. I did not mention his name. I didn't give him no credit, Greg.
Okay.
I'm saying this is that was not the 7 points at the end. The game is 2 scores. They're 2 scores ahead.
Right.
It's way out of hand. There's no thing. I want to come back to this though. Is JP says they can't sit Bryce. That'll be the front office admitting that they were wrong about him. I think it's even more than that. I think it's not that just that they were wrong about the front office. I think it's very similar to the conversation we had about if Frank Wright was to give the play calling over to Thomas Brown. It's just too early, too quick to where you just say, panic. You know what I'm saying? Is that this coaching staff said we're going to Bryce early in the training. I mean, it was the second day of training camp, I think. Right? Wasn't it that quick? The second day of training or even before training camp? Like, right?
It made it seem like there was never a competition. That it's
which is fine. No, I mean, but if it's fine to say this, is that we think that not only it's not that he just gives us the best chance to win today, but we think this is best for the team and the team development and for his development. The most time in camp, the most reps, that's why going and sitting Bryce right now only to give him now protection from failure is a problem. I think the team needs to adopt a motto. I think our fans need to adopt a motto of we just need to get better next week than we were this past week. If that's a W, then that's a W. If that's not having 6 false starts from our left tackle, that's not having 6 false starts from our tackle. Like, can we improve in our run game? Can we incrementally improve from week to week to week to week? Because this is the problem. The idea of anytime somebody messages in, and thank you for your message and your calls and all of that, but it's like, would we be better with Andy Dalton or not? And with Wilkes and what's his name? Who was the backup quarterback?
Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold. Is that I think those are all short-term questions. is that like the question is like is do you think that Andy Dalton is better next week than Bryce Young is? Then I mean that's a legitimate conversation to have. But if the question is just to win one game, that's a short-sighted view to me. I think this is that, and that's why I didn't want to back into the playoffs last year, is I thought this is that like in the end, that doesn't bring the true growth that you need. And we need real sustainable growth. And to me right now, for myself on this podcast, you can call it moving the goalpost, you can whatever. I'm saying this is I just want the team to look better next week than they looked last week. And I don't think they really looked better last week than they did the week before. I think they just looked differently bad.
Right. But I do want to say this though, Tony. And I said this last week, and I'm going to continue to reiterate this point. Just like the Panthers did with Cam Newton, where we had this mindset of, oh, dude, he's 6'5", 245 pounds, and can run around and make magic. And we knew that about him. So then the Panthers decided to overly depend on this trait until they ran him into the ground. Likewise, I think Bryce Young's Achilles heel is that he came in with this billing of he's ready right now. There's no offense that's too big for him. That he is a starter. He is the smartest quarterback that so many great coaches have ever been around. And because of that, they feel like he is so advanced that there is no way that he could have the type of rookie hiccups that he's seeing right now.
And that only added to the hype that was even before he became a part of a team.
Right. So like whenever you say, oh, well, we were the ones that were perpetuating this. Well, yeah, in part because everyone was.
Yes. I'm just saying we're part. I don't want to just give ourselves. I want culpability in it, is all I'm saying. I'm just saying this is I don't want to say, oh, someone else sold this to me. I didn't buy. Like I'm being culpable for my part in jumping to that. Right. And part of it for me, and I'll just be damn honest, is just I told you I'm in a quarterback desert wishing and wanting and loving. And so what do you latch on with the guy who's not the biggest, the strongest, and the fastest? You latch on to those things right there. Those are the things that you have to say that are awesome. And that's where I'm saying is that like with it, when it comes to Stroud and Richardson, there is a grace period. Look, if we would have taken Richardson, number one, and we started equally as bad, and he looked equal, like, and nothing, and Anthony Richardson, there was no real argument that he was Stroud's looking better over there, Bryce Young's looking better wherever the fuck he ended up. There would be a longer leash of grace from all of us because we expected the growing pains. We would say that's what's going to come. It's not about right now. It's about getting him into the, and so the problem is that timeline is accelerated for Bryce Young because that's his skill set. So his leash is longer on that case. Anyway, so
I want to read two super chats. Two super chats real quick. White Chocolate Espresso being an asshole for $1.99. Maybe Bryce should have went to that party with CJ. By the way, I still stand by my original statement. I'm not going unless you've fucking proven something in the NFL. Now CJ might have a reason to go to a white party, dude. So shut the hell up. Muscles Marinara Paisan with the $5 says Bryce Crispy Treats played 2 games with all new everything, and some of you want to pull the plug. You fucking guys.
You fucking guys. All right, let's go to the next call.
Hey guys, it's C3 Coach Curry.
This is the same. That same one?
Hey guys, it's C3 Coach Curry. Just want to finish my thought. Just saying there's a better way of doing things and rebuilding and actually endure the fucking rebuild instead of trying to rush something year after year and present seasons rather than actually, taking on a rebuild. Like next year, we obviously don't have a first round. We're going to have to roll with Andy Dalton and Bryce. Get Bryce good training. Get him in there with Andy Dalton having these work sessions and actually obtain something from the veteran that we brought in to help coach him up. and rebuild around Bryce. Keep some key players that we know are set stone pieces for like our O-line or our defensive line or our receiving group. We know we have Adam Thielen for, I think, it's like 3 years. But I don't know, man. It's just, we just tend to rush, win, when, at the time being, that option's not really there. So we'll see what we do over this next offseason, or if we do anything before trade deadline. Injuries are killing us right now. It's all about just keeping a positive mindset. Yeah, it sucks. And yeah, I guess David Tepper's dropping the ball. Frank Reich's dropping the ball. Scott Fitter, man. Every time I hear that name, I just want to fucking cry. Dude, like, Matt Rule is rolling in his fucking Nebraska grave right now, bro. Like, he is a shit coach for both now.
He's so happy
NFL,
right now.
And going back to college. He's looking at what we've done as an organization, and it's a joke. And that man's still getting paid. Oh, it's frustrating. Our run game's terrible. I think we need to implement Hubbard more. I guess they're using Miles Sanders as more of a pass-catching back. I mean, week one, Hubbard looked more efficient on the ground anyways. Maybe throwing Chenault. We just need to, it's not going to be a winning season, so just plan to make these guys better as a team. Like, plan to make Bryce a more confident NFL quarterback. You know what I mean? Like, we're not going to the playoffs. We're not going to the Super Bowl. Like, plan to make this team better now and build around what you plan on keeping through the next season. Long term. Not fucking next year. We're not winning the chip next year or the year after. It's a fucking rebuild. And if somewhere along that rebuild we do go far, then we've made good progress. I don't know, boys. Keep fucking pounding, boys. I love the podcast. Keep doing your thing.
I'm never budging from my position about Matt Rule. I will never change my mind. Unless he just turns out to win national championship and then go back to I know he's the problem. The sad part to me, though, that just hurts my soul, is when people can call in and say, it wasn't this bad with Matt Rule. Not that caller did that. And how about this? All y'all motherfuckers that told shit about Ron Rivera. Ron Rivera never.
But Tony, I was literally about to say.
They got blown out 36 to
right,
nothing.
But Tony, I was about to say people did the same shit with Ron Rivera and Matt Rule, and it pissed me off then. Because Matt Rule was so fucking terrible, everybody was like, oh, we shouldn't have fired Ron Rivera. No, yes, we fucking should have. It's just that Matt Rule shouldn't have been the guy that followed him up. Now, we might very well be saying that about Frank Reich at some point in time. However, it doesn't mean that Matt Rule was better or would have been a better option. Not. I'm not saying
I'm just saying
I'm
this.
saying
Is imagine this start with Matt Rule. I would have fucking burned down Bank of America.
Yeah.
If we would have kept, think about this. If Matt Rule would have stayed around for one more year, we made the same exact move and we looked this bad, I would just be fucking. That's the problem that's harder for me. And this is why I get mad. This is why what Greg's irritate me with the Bryce shit, because to me, I thought that regardless of the Bryce part, just the implementation of this staff should have made the team, like CK was saying at the very beginning of the show, not so much better, but capable.
Mm-hmm.
Just capable. And I don't know. I think this, what we're going to have to end up probably doing at the end of the day is just say, remember how we used to suck off on Phil Snow in the beginning and be like, he's the best coach on the team? Ejiro Evero, best coach on the team. Our defensive coordinator is the best coach on the team.
Can I ask you, Tony, based on what? They gave up 37 points yesterday.
God, you really want to argue about this? I will argue about it.
I do. I mean, you're making a point. I just want to ask.
In the period. The defense lacks talent. The defense really overall lacks talent. They're not a talented group of people. On top of that, there's injury after injury on that. And on top of that, It wasn't until this game that they gave over like 20 points.
Okay, so
he's doing what I expected Frank Reich to do on the offensive side, which is not be the greatest thing in the history of the world, but to take pretty good players and make them better.
Well, okay, so let me ask. So injuries, missed tackles are coach's fault, but or excuse me, not injuries, missed tackles and whatever else you want to say, a defensive guy does bad. Penalties are a coach's fault, but injuries are not.
When did I ever say any of those things?
I have been argued against multiple times.
I mean, like, let's talk about right now. When have I said that? I just said this, Greg. I said this. I said that the best coach on the team right now is the defensive coordinator. He had the least talented group of players, and they're playing better than they should. You lost your starting linebacker. Then you lost your second linebacker. You lost this. And you know what? Is the guys that are coming in, it goes this, is the defense has not been like, yes, in this game, they had trouble against an offense that is very prolific. It's not, no, we're not the first team that's had trouble with fucking the Seattle offense this season. When I came into this season, I thought that the better talented side of the football was the offense.
Okay.
And I've been consistent in saying this throughout the first 2 weeks. I don't know what I'm saying in week 3. You saw me. I was jumping off a cliff in the post game in the last one. But the defense has been pleasantly surprising to me.
The first part,
and I think he's been the best coach on the team.
The first half of the game, the defense is good, and then the second half, it's the same old thing.
But who's been a better coach on the team?
No doubt. But I'm saying both of those things can be true. That the defense hasn't looked particularly great, yet Zero Evero can still have the most evidence for being the best coach. Even if that's
right. I'm not saying the fucking lights out. But how about this? James Campen. We said James. I got so pissed over the Rivera years. Who was the guy that everybody just fucking loved? Who was our offensive line coach? He went on to Washington with
John Matsko.
Yeah. Just, we got the best fucking O-line coach in the league. And I was like, well, why the fuck does our offensive line always suck a you know what? Yeah. That's how I always was. It's just like, why are they so bad? Oh, James Campen. This offensive line, sorry. And I'm not going to blame it on him. I'm not going to blame it on him because the players, Greg, are the people that do it. They're the ones that make the mistakes. They're the ones that don't make the tackles. They're the ones that make the errors. But I'm just saying, if you look at any unit right here, what unit has overperformed? Has it been the wide receiver group? Nope. Has it been the offensive line? Nope. Has it been the quarterback? Nope. Has it been no, it's been the defense as a whole.
They performed best, but they haven't overperformed. They left 37 points last week, Tony.
Okay.
37 points.
Isn't that what I'm saying?
You can say that they did good, but that's not good.
I didn't say they did good. What did I say?
Well,
I said that Zero Evero was the best coach on our team so far. That's what I said, Greg. Next call. Okay. Did I not say that, CK?
You did.
What did I say? Did I say that the defense had been lights out?
No.
Okay. Next call.
Yo, this Lou from Fort Myers, a.k.a. Louis Vert in the chat, or Lou Dove in the chat. You be seeing me. Listen, I'm calling because y'all gave me some outrageous looks when I said that Andy Dalton take. And I came here because I kept my receipts. I know Cody wasn't there last week, but Greg was the one who agreed with me. And I'm going to say it again. I'm going to give y'all this proposal one more time. Listen, I say we put Bryce Young, bench him for half a year. Let him learn under Dalton because something's clicking for Dalton that it's not clicking for Bryce Young. Y'all can say they opened up the playbook way more. Whatever. They don't have enough trust or confidence in him. But listen, don't forget the Packers picked up Jordan Love with the first-round pick while they still had Aaron Rodgers. Yes, it was insulting to Aaron Rodgers, but look how all that time that Jordan Love was sitting there, learning, progressing. Now look at him now. That boy smooth like butter. So I'm saying I don't want to see what happened to Zach Wilson happened to Bryce Young. Y'all clowned on me when I said he was giving off Zach Wilson vibes. I don't want to see it happen. Like y'all say all the time, this is our quarterback. Our quarterback. Nobody else's. You know what I'm saying? I say it like this. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Personally, I could tell when an MFer got that dog in him. And Bryce Young don't look like he got that dog in him. You know what I'm saying? He don't look like, I know he's from Bama and he not from Georgia, but he don't got that dog in him. Andy Dalton came out there ready to kill, firing on all cylinders, 60 fucking passes. I get it. It doesn't look good for the run game, but listen, if you got that much confidence to throw 60 fucking passes, go right for it. Go right for it. I told y'all, it's either a pick or a tutty. And guess what? He threw for 2 touchdowns. It's the first time since we've seen like 20 points up on the fucking board. He threw for 2 touchdowns. Hey, y'all could listen. My takes aren't there for now, but when you hear my take now and you reflect back on it later, you're gonna be like, all right, he was on to something. He was cooking. And I been said we should have kept Steve Wilkes, but hey, that take was crazy back then too. My fault. I'm just trying to keep it an RN, you know what I'm saying? But, hey, I just finished a podcast on Monday. Thank y'all so much. I'm calling in on Monday because I don't know if I'll be able to Tuesday. But take care. And, yeah, Greg, let's talk our shit. Let's be real.
Greg, they with you. Greg, I want you to put up a poll and give you some work to do.
All right.
Which coach has lived the closest? Well, how should we word it, CK? Which coach? I put this.
Who has been the best coach on the Carolina Panthers through 3 weeks?
Okay. I think Reich. Yeah. It should be Reich, Evero, right? Head coach, offensive coordinator is Reich. Evero. I think Campen should be on the list. Tabor, special teams. It only lets you do 4.
Oh, we're not gonna say Brown.
No, you can't.
I don't think you could really judge it. I think that's impossible to actually assess.
Yeah, with Frank calling plays, I think that's one of those things that's like next to impossible, which is unfair to Thomas Brown. But I can't personally say that I see a difference. I can't tell you that what Thomas Brown has made a difference for our organization because I really don't know what he's doing.
Right. All right, let's go.
Reich, Evero, Campen, and who else?
I guess it's Tabor. I almost feel like it should be either the tight ends coach or the wide receiver coach.
You also don't have to put 4. You can put
no. I just do Reich and Evero.
I do feel like it's kind of throwing a position coach under the bus.
Well, I mean, you might as well just do Reich and Evero because no one's gonna say any other player.
You're right. Yeah. I'm trying, I guess, to get to and saying you're right. You're absolutely right. But like we could talk about the tight end group being terrible right now. We could talk about the wide receiver, like those position groups.
Tony, but even then, it's not really a great argument because if we were to say because even if we were to say, okay, well, the cornerback coach, well, God, these dudes are playing terrible. The corner coach must be terrible.
Right. We got to leave Campen off.
We have all these injuries and all these different things. Like, there's only so much you can do to overcompensate.
Right. Yeah, then take Campen off.
I would just do Reich and Evero.
Like it.
Yeah.
All right, and this is the second call. So I want to get on everybody who was getting on the wide receivers, dog. I've been telling y'all, each one of these dudes specialize in certain things. You can't ask Adam Thielen to be a speedster because that's not who he is. Let him play his role in the personnel. Let him play his role. When you got people not playing their roles, like YGM going to deflect the fucking pass, come on, bro. That's where you start to look shit. Let the personnel do what they supposed to do. Man, give me the damn playbook. I cooked some shit up. But no, like I said, these wide receivers, they playing how they playing, bro. Look at Andy Dalton numbers, bro. I know it took almost damn 60 passes to get there, but hey, bro, don't tell me it can't be done. It's the wide receivers. It's the wide receivers. No. I say it like this, and every football player, every football coach, every GM, and every owner should know this. It starts in the trenches. It starts in the trenches. I don't give a fuck. Look at the Eagles. What makes the Eagles so good? They trench. Defensive and offensive trench. They're unbeatable. They are scary side. You don't want to go see them. Look at Tom Brady. Tom Brady always had a good career. You know why? Because he had a good line. That's where it starts. It starts in the trenches. We don't need to be looking for wide receivers. We don't need to be looking for defensive back. Yes, we do, but I say we start with the trench first. We start with the trench, especially how Icky is playing. God,
where were all these people 6 months ago, 8 months ago? You got to put that boy
in the guard. He is not a tackle. I'm sorry, but he is not a tackle. He'll be an all-pro guard.
I've been saying it, bro.
You got to put that ego down. But like I said, man, calling in on Monday. Hope y'all Tuesday. And keep motherfucking pounding.
Keep pounding.
Tell you one homie that's been saying this, me, and that is just draft offense. I'd be fine with us just drafting an offensive lineman in the top 3 every single season. Not top 3 rounds. And it should almost just rotate. Yeah. It should go first round, third round, second. First round, third round, second. Every single season. And then you just switch the defensive line in that same rotation. And then every now and then you get a skill player.
You can't do that with no first round picks, though, is the problem.
No. You can't do that with no first round picks. But what was wild about, I heard Steve Smith, they were asking about, were we wrong to think this year was going to be better, or should we have known this as a rebuild year? And he kind of, he wanted to fairway it because he's working with the Panthers, I think, and some things. But what he also brought up some great points, like he was still Steve Smith. He said, look, you drafted this year, you got a quarterback. Last year, you got a left tackle. The year before, you got a number 1 defensive tackle. You got not number 1 overall, but top 10.
Right, yeah.
You got a top 10 corner. You got this, you got that. You like one year, you put all defensive. Like, at what point are you not rebuilding? Is to say we're in a rebuild is true because everything is different. But like that also just says none of the shit that you were building in the first place was worth anything. And I think he was trying to say, I don't think he was saying like, hey, it should be better or worse, but like the idea, it's not like the Panthers have been picking 25. It's not like the Panthers have had the expectation of winning 12 games every season. It's not like, it's like, at what point does the building turn into, it's like
no longer building, actually winning,
or like actual room. Like, what if somebody just comes out to your house and they continue to bang nails and it's like, oh, it's almost there, and your deck never becomes a deck. Your room never becomes a room.
Well,
that guy's working all the time, though.
Well, remember this too. Like, Panther fans don't want to hear anything about patience. We've been patient. We've been patient for years now. We've been told that this thing is coming, that this thing is building, and it never shows up.
We've had bad drafts.
Well, and the thing about it is, as much as Panther fans don't want to hear it, that's what you're going to need to have. You're going to need to have a little bit of patience. And again, I'll reiterate, I have not been a fan of Tua Tagovailoa. If you look at the Dolphins right now, no one is going to say that they don't have one of the scariest looking offenses in the NFL. The reason I bring them up is because that's how you're going to build around someone like Bryce. You're going to put a good offensive line around him. You're going to give him a bunch of speedsters that can affect every level of the field and get separation the proper way. And you need a play caller that's going to be able to put your offense in good scenarios to be able to attack the defense. And until we're able to do that, we're going to be having these same questions. And that doesn't happen in 1 year. It's going to take time.
Stop. You have been on this show several times.
I am right.
No, you're not, because you're going against what you've said in the past.
Thank you.
What? No, I'm not.
You have said this.
You are. Yes,
you've said this is that a team can truly turn around a team in one good draft.
If you do,
and you have said that with the same. No, it's true.
Draft.
And this is what we have to do. You're right about what you just said, is that it's going to take patience. It's going to take improving those things. But at the end of the Matt Rule day, because he always said at the end of the day, we have to have a draft where we come out with more than one player.
100%.
With more than one contributor.
100%.
In our last few drafts, we've not only just had one contributor, there have been question marks about that contributor, whether it be an injury to Horn, whether it be people that didn't believe in Derek Brown at first, or whatever it is the thing we have to do is, and Greg, and this to your point about not having future draft picks and this and that, you're right. But what we needed to do was hit on our third round this year with Bryce. And right now, our third round pick is not even dressing. He's a healthy scratch. He's not contributing on special teams. He's not contributing. And this is what's going to continue to lend to the Scott Fitter sucks argument. It's going to, until they have a draft where they hit more than one play. Like, we need a draft next year, or else they're all fucking fired. If Scott Fitter's definitely fired, he might not make it to next year. Right. But he's definitely going to be fired next year if they have a draft where they can't manufacture picks, despite not like get picks, but you don't have a first round pick, but you find a guy who is going to be regraded as a first. Like, if he doesn't pick a guy at 38 who turns out to be like should have gone top 10 in 1 year later, and you can't be successful and only get one player in every draft.
Right. But Tony, another thing that you need to consider is, yes, everything that you just said is true, but you might need two of those drafts.
I agree with that. I agree.
So,
I don't think it's going to fix it.
You're going to you can have 1 year of a really good draft that can change the trajectory of your future and provide you with some building block players. But then the next year, if you're able to continuously draft well, then you're talking about a team that has a bunch of cornerstone players at very important positions that can make something happen for you while you have a quarterback that's on a rookie deal.
Can we settle in the middle? That, how about this, is that to have real success in the NFL over a sustained period of times, you need to have consecutive drafts where you get more than one draft pick that hits. Every year you need to have two players that hit. And then some years you need to get those fucking incredible drafts where you're like, holy shit, man, we got a damn fifth round. Yeah, we got Travis Kelce in the fourth round.
You need to hit some undrafted free agents.
You have to do it consecutively, though. You
free agency.
If we just hit two starters next year, Cody, it's not enough. If we have an incredible draft, say you get a third, fourth, and fifth round pick, you get three starters next year, but then the following year, your draft, you get one, it's not enough. You have to beat.
This is why I'm not
average. You got to beat the average.
I'm not a fan of Fitter anymore, and I feel like it's well within our right. Even though Matt Rule was here, it is now well within our right to be able to criticize Scott Fitter, seeing as how the last three draft classes were enacted by him.
All right, we're pushing through calls. We're just pushing calls. Push through calls.
If it was,
what's up, C3? Calling in. It's JJ from Louisville. Wanted to give my thoughts on the game because I guess my first call got lost. It is what it is. Who cares? But I tell you what, I was a little surprised. Actually, no, I really wasn't. Seattle's defense is probably the worst defense we've played this year. The offense moved fluently. It looked like we were a little bit more willing to pass on first and second down. Maybe that's because we were down a little more in the game. It felt like Andy Dalton definitely was way more comfortable, way more ready to just go out there and sling it. Absolutely looked more NFL ready than Bryce Young. I don't even think that's the question, but I tell you what, in terms of like a production standpoint, I do feel like Bryce Young would have still been good.
he would have probably set a few career highs in terms of stats. Because, I mean, I did feel like Andy Dalton's last touchdown was in garbage time. But who really cares about that? I hope we win this next week. We got the Vikings, who are like the worst defense in the NFL damn near. 0-3 versus 0-3. We're at home. I hope the Panthers can get a win. However, I did want to talk about last week's Friday free-for-all. I appreciated being on the show. I probably had one of the most fun times I've had on the free-for-all. Thank you, Tony, for coming out. Anyone else who wants to join the Friday free-for-alls, you're more than welcome to. I hope more and more people join. It was fun. I hope people join Panther Pickle and Diesel Skills on the Spaces on X or Twitter or whatever. But hell yeah, I just wanted everyone to get in on the fun and talking Panther football. I think we'll get a win next week. I hope Bryce starts. If he doesn't, that's fine. But keep pounding.
All right, let's go to the next call.
So what JJ is saying is, when Cody is away, Tony and the boys will play and have a great time on the free throw. I get what you're saying,
It was
JJ.
the opposite. Dad was in charge, bro. Dad was at the end. They were like this. They were like, "We got to get some recess, bro." They were ready. They were ready for their little snack packs and their little this and that. Is like, nah, I just and I'm not. You got a skill set, dude, of cycling people in, of getting other people in. Those are the things that were challenging for me. I'm good at least I think engineering conversation, directing it. I mean, there's a little teacher in my style, but there were some challenges. And then there was this guy, Jared, who came on, who was really nice. He was a Denver Broncos fan.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, he came in the green room and I was like, tell me an offensive lineman start. And he goes, I can't do that. And I was like, well, I don't need it. I was just like, I was so scared about getting bombed. And he came on and he was the nicest dude. He called in on the post game. It was awesome. But like,
I've told you the trick for that, right? You just you share something on screen, and then you put up a comment, and
works.
then add them to the room, and it covers whatever pops up anyway.
So important having you, man. For me, like it makes me be able to be free when you do some things that, like, what was it? You weren't here another moment. No, maybe it was that same night. I said, Greg, I said, do the comments. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, the hardest part are these small things. And look, people are already critical of me talking over and this and that, and that's fine. Like, I mean, it's hard to direct the conversation, do the calls, put the comments up, look where it's going next. You're forecasting the conversation. So they just have fun because Dad was in the house and he was like, I gave everybody their time. I'd be like, now JJ, you go. And everybody, I was like, shut the fuck up.
Hey, I mean, it's a Friday.
Gentlemen, on the September 5th, 2023 show, I asked all of you, how many wins and losses this season will the Carolina Panthers have? And I put it in the chat. So if you reference the probably the second or the first chat of tonight's program, you'll see what I put in there for your prognostication.
I was 8-9.
But tell me, I gave the lowest amount of wins because this roster is not that good. The only wide receiver who can get open is Adam Thielen, but the rest of them suck. And now you see what this offensive line is doing, and we just don't have good linebacker core. And so I think that the roster is just not any good. But I am curious to know your thoughts if you think that the Panthers can have a turnaround, and who do you think is going to be the most accurate at the end of this season? Gentlemen, let me know. Bye-bye.
I mean, the most accurate at the end of the season? What, between our picks? I guess.
No. Oh, that's a good question. Here, I'm going to give you mine. I'm going to tell you this, and because you got to go, I'm going to get my old man break real quick before you leave. I think in one way you say is, how's your picks changed, or have they changed? And I don't know what I'm going to tell you. I think my pick was 7. I was 8-9. I was one below 500.
Yeah, I was.
I think you were one above 500. I think you were 9-8.
I was so optimistic.
Yeah, I think Greg and The question is how far. I'm just going to.
Greg had the highest projection. How the hell is that?
No, he did. And his defense will be he did it because we told him that Bryce Young was supposed to be the truth.
Yeah. True.
I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be honest. In Canada, everybody's going to be like, oh, you're just changing your stuff, Tony. I was scared to say I thought this team wasn't going to be good. I know. Think about this. What did I continue to say 7, 8, or 9 wins?
I mean,
I always said this. I said 7, 8, or 9 wins. And we had a show maybe a month and a half ago where I said, what would happen if we won less than 7 games? Like, what would it do to your thoughts about a lot of different things? Because I have secretly feared that 7 was going to be tough to get. And I'm not saying I think I'm just admitting that I didn't have the onions to say that 7.
I mean, but that's kind of what I had to do, because if you remember when we did our earlier predictions, I was at 10 wins, 11 wins. That's what I was saying. And then right before the season, I'm like, I need to come down on that.
I think I really, in my heart of hearts, believed 8 was going to be hard to get.
See, I said 10 wins, but that was only because I was sold.
You believed in Bryce.
I believed in Bryce. I was sold Bryce. I was sold that we should win more games. That was the reason why I bought that.
Literally said what you just said verbatim.
Yeah, I think me and CK had the same pick.
No. What I said is that Greg, I said I had an over optimistic belief in what this team was going to be, and then Tony said Greg, I think, had the highest out of everybody, oddly enough. And then Cody was like, "Yeah, that is weird." Tied. And I was like, but Greg's going to come on here and defend himself and say it's because we sold him that Bryce Young was the truth. And so that was.
I think that you and I tied, actually. CK. I think you and I both had 10 wins.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's all I'm saying. That was why I said that, because I traded 2 first-round picks and I won 7 games last year. So there's no reason I shouldn't win 10 this year.
Did we win 7 last year?
Yeah, 7 9.
Yeah, last year feels like it was so long ago already.
Yeah. Well, so listen, I'm going to jump off a little bit early. You know I love you boys. I appreciate everybody in the chat room. Hey, Friday free for all. Every Friday at 7 p.m. Your boy is back in the driver's seat. Pops is going back to whatever Pops is doing. Probably in grading.
I do. No, my wife's birthday is Saturday. I have to do a lot of preparatory work for her birthday party. Like, I got to do some food prep and some different things. So my action on Friday is limited.
No problem, man. Friday free for all, every Friday at 7. You want to be a part of the show, come by and hang out. By the way, dropping this Thursday is a brand new film room, man. Every week we're doing the all 22 version of the film, and we're breaking it down. Me and Panther Pickle, I'll try and get some special guests as the season goes on. It accidentally went live to everyone, even though I said it to go live to just super fans. If you would like 30 to 40 plus minute videos of us breaking down the all 22 film, hit that join button for only $1.99 a month. You're helping out the channel. You're helping us produce more content on YouTube for all of you. Support our sponsors, Caldera Labs, Manscaped.com. Prize Picks is something we haven't even done yet tonight, Tony.
Oh God, thank you. Actually,
yeah, man. Hit up the Prize Picks. Use promo code C3. By the way, your boy won $130 this weekend.
Guess who didn't win any money? This guy right here. So I'm glad.
Yeah,
Look,
man. That was my
Friday.
That was my first big time win of the season, man.
All right, you get out of here. You go get some rest.
Y'all have a great night. C3, peace and love, man.
I want to shout out KG73s. He's a guy who had no trouble finding his onions. He just said 10-7 division champs. This guy, that's a Manscaped user right there. Promo code Panthers. His onions are in clear view. Don't forget, because I almost forgot. Thank you, Cody. man. I told you I can't do it without you. Prize Picks, the best place to play daily fantasy football sports. The way it works is you put in 2 entries from 2 different teams, or you can put more. The more entries you have on fantasy football projections, the more opportunity you have to win. You can win up to 10 times your money. You can take just 2 picks and triple your money. What you got to do is put your skills to the test. Prize Picks, using the promo code C3, you can get up to $100 deposit match on your first time. You put in $100, they'll match you $100. You put in $99, they'll match you $99. What's awesome about this is I listen to podcasts all over the place, and Prize Picks advertises on other big, giant name podcasts. Big name podcasts. They give you the same promo on those podcasts that they give you on our podcast, because C3 is the real deal. That's right. Promo code C3 Prize Picks gets you an entry, or gets you 100% deposit match on the most awesome daily fantasy football playing sport available. One thing you need to do is probably link your wagon to a bunch of different people. Not Tony at the minute. I got to turn it around. Look, guys, I had a tough week. Loss. Jahmyr Gibbs. What the hell? 2 receiving yards? How about this? Loss. Tyler Lockett, they have 400 yards, over 400 yards offensively against the Panthers. Didn't get it. Lamar Jackson, don't take him. Again, look, DJ Moore on the worst team ever. All right, we got to turn it around, fellas. We're turning it around right now.
What's Adam Thielen look like? Not Adam Thielen, I'm sorry. What's
Justin Jefferson?
No,
Should we just...
What's Cousins like? Yep.
283. Big number. It's a big number. Let's just do this. Let's start with receiving yards. Green Bay. Amon, that's a good one. Let's see. Laporta, he's been great. Diggs, 80. Pitts, dangerous there.
I'd take Davis at 44.5 at the low.
Gabriel?
Yep.
Under? Less than?
Yep.
Versus Miami, they're going to have to score a billion points. Miami just scored 70.
But Gabe Davis sucks.
Why?
He had one good game in the playoffs.
What about this one?
He sucks.
Ooh. Nico and your boy. I like that one. Let's try this. Let's see what sometimes. Come on, chat, get in there. What are we? Where are the? Let's see if this hurts.
Ooh, 1 touchdown.
But he has to rush it. Though.
Or receive.
Yeah, which he's not going to catch one.
No, he's not going to catch one.
Goff 2 against Green Bay. That's not bad.
That's not bad.
Golf. Will Justin Jefferson score a touchdown against the Panthers?
Probably.
And will Tyreek Hill score again? Like, is he even stoppable?
I like Justin Jefferson scoring 1 touchdown, and I like the one you had before that, the wide receivers. Hurt.
No, let's see. Oh, Goff. Was it Goff?
Goff, yeah.
Goff 1.5. I do like Goff 1.5. 254 in the air. Trevor Lawrence, Lamar, you got Howell versus Philly. Man, I don't know if I want any of that. They got blown. They got man, this is, you know what? Less
Who's
than
Dobbs play?
Doing this. I'm doing Collins Moore, Jefferson getting a touchdown, Zach Wilson getting under against why is it not let me I gotta check. I gotta scroll down. Oh down. Where is it?
You didn't pick the second pick.
Oh, thank you. I gotta get back in the game. Going power play. That's what's killed me so far. Guys, that's Prize Picks. Use the promo code C3. Man, they've been a great sponsor of the podcast. Love playing it. Let's go to the next goal.
Hey, it's White Chocolate Espresso. I know there's a lot of negativity going around right now, and I thought I, offered up an idea that might be positive. Some uplifting things, The new Madden's out. And a lot of us were talking about doing like a season mode with some of us. I think we should do a Madden tournament. I don't know how many, just
I'm down.
Random play each other until the very last two. Whoever goes to the championship, basically. And then we live stream that one with Cody and CK, doing play-by-play from the final one.
It's a good idea.
And the winner, gets something. I don't know.
Yeah.
A blow drop from Cody. I think that'd be fine with everyone. But give me what's your thoughts. Maybe we should do that. Put it together. A C3 Madden franchise tournament. That's all I got.
All right. Well, that's a great idea. Why don't you guys, we need to start putting together a way to communicate about that. If you're interested, if you're a Madden player, you like C3, let's start maybe using, maybe hit me on Twitter with @mention. What's a good way for them to, I would say Discord is another way to let us know, but I don't feel like people are using Discord as much anymore. Discord's fading. Are there stock dropping?
I don't know. I think it's just people are going back to work and they're not at home as much. So
right. Okay. So how about this? Is y'all mentioned, hit me up on Twitter is the best way. If you don't use Twitter, you can send me an email at Carolina Cat Chronicles.
Tony, get it right.
Okay, whatever. I call it Twitter. I still call them the San Diego Chargers, dude. And that's one way. Another way, get a message to me and let me know what what do we need to know to get this to happen? I guess we need their gamer tag, right?
Sort of. So you would, if we're talking about being able to actually watch it, they'd have to be able to stream as well, because there's no other way for us to be able to see what they're seeing. Unless
isn't that like built into every system now?
Potentially, but not everybody is, in a position to be able to do that.
Okay. Well, I think that would have to be part of the caveat, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you got to be cool enough. Not only are you a good player, but you got to know how to stream. And we can play together or be willing to troubleshoot with us to use Discord and those things to figure out how to do it. Oh, let's shoot for that. Let's give it 5 weeks.
Yep.
It's 9/26, 1st of November, like not the first day of November, but we're shooting for the beginning of November. Let's organize. And you know what? It might have to happen over a week or two. Like, I mean, you can't do it in one day, one championship. You might have to have a week in rounds. Let's say there's 10 people, 5, two, they play this in 3 days, 2, and then we play the next day, and then we play the next day. So we're going to have to start working on that. Start coming up. Great idea. Also come up with the logistics. And that's the hard part. Let's go to the next call.
What up, C3 Nation? This is Slim Jimma calling from the beautiful West Coast, San Diego. Hey, man, I was just wanting to call and just talk about the quarterback competition of the first rounders. And, man, going into the draft, I was a fan of C.J. Stroud, and I was actually surprised we went with Bryce Young. I was adamant the Panthers would draft C.J. Stroud, man. And I can tell you what, I don't want to be a pessimist, man, but after 3 weeks, I think C.J. Stroud is that guy. I don't know Bryce Young. I think C.J. Stroud is doing everything that everyone said Bryce Young would do, and C.J. Stroud couldn't do, so it's kind of ironic. But I think C.J. Stroud right now is looking like he's going to be the best out of that draft class unless Anthony Richardson shows up and does something crazy, man. But, yeah, I just wanted to talk about that, share my thoughts on that. Let me know what y'all think, man. Looking forward to hearing the show. As always, man, go Panthers, keep pounding.
Thank you. All I could say is time will tell. Right now, through 3 weeks, CJ Stroud has been impressive statistically, and it's really picked up in week 3. So much so that people are talking about should the Panthers have picked not Tank, is it Tank Dell?
Yeah.
One's a running back for one. Tank is in Jacksonville. But now Nico
Indell, I can't remember his name. Yeah.
Either way, the point being is that each week it seems that we continue to hear CJ Stroud's success. So right now, I mean, like, look, as you're going to go back and look at this several years down the road, but right now, CJ Stroud playing out of his mind, according to the statistics. Let's go to the next goal.
Man, I'm looking at the schedule. When are we gonna win a fucking game, bro? I mean, look at the schedule. Looks brutal. Our fucking team looks trash, man. I was pretty excited going into the season, but man, it's like the whole team, the whole coaching staff, the team, the defense, all of them are so underwhelming. I can't see a win on our schedule. Maybe the Chicago Bears, but it's in Chicago, so I don't know if we're gonna be favored in that. I don't see a win on the schedule. Maybe against Tampa, that's it. I mean, what a bad year not to have a first-round pick. Appreciate what y'all do.
That.
Take care.
Imagine being a team that was a 2-win team.
Yeah, imagine we earned Bryce Young instead of buying him.
Well,
it'd be crazy.
Yeah. Or the next one. Yeah. No, exactly right. Is that will be. If we're like that, that will be a legitimate conversation for a long time. But you know what? I felt like that is we could have earned CJ Stroud last year if we would have just kept Matt Rule to the end. We could have earned, I mean, that's where people are like, oh, let's try to make the playoffs. I was like, But you know what? It is what it is, and we got what we got. Now we got to figure out what to do. Let's go to the next call.
Hey, guys. It's the growl that makes them howl, a.k.a. Joey the Blind Panther. Well, I was in Raleigh. I think I might be losing my voice, but whatever. So, yeah. We're on 3. It sucks. I hate losing because losing sucks. And I was thinking today that I used to think the people that said, oh, the NFL is rigged, and usually they were fans of losing teams. They were even some. And last year, like the one I remember the most is this chick that she's like, she is and claims to no longer be a hardcore Charlotte sports fan, and all of our teams sucked, at least last year. But I am kind of starting to believe the whole rigged system theory, because how the fuck have the Panthers never had back-to-back winning seasons in 20 some odd years? All the coaches we've had, all the quarterbacks we've had, all of this and all of that we've had, but we still have never had back-to-back winning seasons. We're still sucking in the same way that we sucked before. Like, something's up there. But the reason everybody is so freaked out is there are 2 reasons. One, the hype. The hype was palpable last year. Okay, and I admit I was one of the ones that was instigating a lot of it. Okay, but that for better or worse, the hype is the reason we're so disappointed. And the second one is Panthers traumatic stress disorder. Yes, the shirt that we're all going to make. And by the way, can you make it with pockets? Because I came up with it and I love pockets on my shirt. And I want a couple.
Like a chest pocket, or do you want like hand pocket?
We are so scarred from all the bullshit that this team put us through.
You want a hoodie without a hood?
We're 0-3. We're going through growing pains of a new everything. And we're sitting here freaking out. Okay? It's going to get better. There's a bottom, and there has to be a bottom for there to be a top. It's going to get better. Might be this year. Might be next year. Might be in 2 years. We don't know. But you know what? One thing we do know is we can't be any worse than that rule. Okay? We're not worse than that rule. Okay? We're just mad because we got Panther traumatic stress disorder. We got our panties in a bunch because.
Yeah, he's got to get his growl in.
Hey guys, it's the growl that makes him howl again. I got cut off, but basically,
you reached the time
we're
limit,
mad
folks.
because
You
we're
guys
losing.
didn't
We
get cut
hate
off.
losing, and we're used to losing, and we don't want to lose anymore. That's why we're all freaking out. Okay? Quit overreacting. Gonna get better sometime. You know, it's not like we've had good football recently, so it's not like we remember it. So we can wait for it when we have it. I mean, some of us remember it, but you know what I mean. Anyway, guys. Wow.
Thank you, Joey, for the call. We love you. Yes, Joey really is blind, and G Baby really is black. Those are the two things that you gotta know for this show that are for our callers. I do, but look, I go on this pirate radio. They have the call-in show. CK, part of the genesis of me taking every call in the post-game show to the end, regardless of how long it is, comes from this radio station in my town that does the same thing. And they've sucked for a long time. We've had some down years. And the show, every time somebody calls up, they'll be like, how you doing, guys? And they're like, motherfucker. They don't say that because it's a radio. It's like, God, like we're here for 4 hours and just fielding calls about how we get beat down.
Railed.
How we do it is not the way you lead the call. So the worst way you could start a call on pirate radio is how you doing? How's it going, guys? How's it going, guys? For me, it's going to be I got cut off. You didn't get cut off. You reached the time limit, man. You reached the time limit. It was 3 minutes. Let's go to the next call.
Well, that's C3 family. This is Raleigh here in Statesville. I'm just calling to put my 2 cents down
man,
again,
sorry.
or maybe penny.
Oh, wait, it's coming through.
Yes. My opinion is, I really don't think Frank Price is all the problem.
Oh, man. All right. I hope you call back. Let's go to the next call.
I just want to say I'm sort of with Greg. Like, I don't think Bryce Young is the problem.
This guy's a witness
but I don't think
protection
he's
right
the
now.
solution. I mean, in the fucking Saints game, this guy had fucking 91 passing yards before the final drive, which was basically garbage time. I mean, I don't believe in him. I see C.J. Stroud playing well. I see Anthony Richardson playing well. And then fucking Bryce, the fucking Falcons do not have a good defense. He did not look good against them. And then Saints have good defense, that's whatever. But 91 yards against them before the freaking garbage time touchdown. He can't run a fucking quarterback sneak too. Like I don't want to be a hater, but I'm losing faith in Bryce. I don't have much belief in him.
You know what this fan right here is? This is somebody. Greg is the person that came out. Greg's
fringe on my hill. He's fringe on my hill right there.
Greg's a whistleblower. This, you know what? That call right there is one of those guys you see on a TV on a news program, and they got him blurred out.
No, he's y'all in 3 weeks. He's y'all in 3 weeks. I'm telling you.
All right, let's go to my Paisan next.
Oh, Paisans, how you doing?
Oh, guys.
It's a great night, isn't it? I just got out of the gym, but earlier today,
not playing Madden.
I watched the game over from the Seattle game.
Poor guy.
And Ike Ekwonu and Chandler Zavala, these fucking guys, bro.
These fucking
guys. I don't know what the fuck has gotten into them with these false starts and fucking Zavala being a fucking turn wheel. I don't know if they got something wrong with the yam bags. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they need a little manscape down there. They got a little tickle down there, some shit. Go full of tainty paint. I don't know what the fuck, bro. But these fucking guys, what the fuck? Shit's got to change with those two motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
Acting like a bunch of fucking jabronis. Anyway, that's my these fucking guys take for tonight.
I love them.
Great show, boys. Keep pounding. Stay saucy. Talk to you later.
I love it. Great call. Let's go to the next one. These fucking guys.
Hey. You know who the fuck it is. Booyaka!
Greatest intro to a call.
You asked a question. What do we do with the build? Well, I have that answer for you, my G. Time to cut. It was time to sell assets. It is time to sell assets. It is time to do a complete, full rebuild. I'm a very optimistic person. I'm a very, very optimistic person. we are losing too many fucking players for me to be like, we're going to the playoffs. We're going to go make a championship run. Blah, blah, blah. And it's not even me being a Debbie Downer. It's me being real fucking listic. And I don't want to be like, oh, this season is over after 3 fucking weeks. I don't want to be that fan. We just lost Xavier Woods for 6 weeks. Like that's crazy to me. If I'm going to do this build, it's time to make some phone calls for Brian Burns. It's time to make some phone calls for J.C. Horn. Motherfuckers want to trade Jeremy Chin. I am not on that train. I'll fuck with Jeremy Chin. I feel like he's
Don't watch that last Russian touchdown.
Matt Rule used Jeremy Chin the way he should be used at the linebacker position. Another Thomas Davis 2.0. But if he goes, I mean, I guess he goes. I'm to the point where we don't have no dogs. We have a bunch of puppies. The only alien we have, in my opinion, is the truth, and that's Bryce fucking Young. It's time to build around Bryce Young now. It's time to go get them fucking
don't have a
dogs.
choice,
It's time
right?
to go get them leaders. It's time to go get them fucking aliens because we don't have none. We're losing way too many people. We're 0-3. It's time to sell assets, and that's how we start this fucking build. We got to build to the fucking draft. We have to build through the draft, and we have to see. I don't know what the salary cap is.
We have a lot of money.
Season, but I know we're going to have a lot of money.
Up 60 million.
And that's how we're going to have to go about this.
I think what we do is this. Great call.
Boys, you know who the fuck this is. I'm going to be calling back this G, baby.
The great thing is what we should just do is spend all the money, especially even if you don't pay Brian Burns, you might spend too much of your free agent, but it's just like buy all offensive linemen and defensive linemen.
Yeah.
You know, just say if everybody who's right, they are right, you build through the trenches and you do that, then that's the best way to incrementally make your team better. And then you can find those players, the other players in the draft, hopefully invest the money there. G Baby's coming back here right now. Oh, just a few more calls.
I want to talk about this is G baby. Thanks for letting this shit play out, Tony. You the man, G. You my dog.
I love you, dude.
I want to talk about how when you guys look at Philly, look at Philadelphia, man. Look at that defense. Look at that fucking front seven. They got a bunch of dogs. They got a bunch of dogs, bro. Like, we have never taken the time to do a full rebuild. It's always half-ass, and that's why building half-ass this is what building half-ass gets you. It gets you this fucking result, and this is what we have. So it's like we have to do a complete rebuild. I believe we can get a first round and multiple picks for fucking Brian Burns. I believe we can get a third round pick for fucking J.C. Horn. I believe we can get multiple picks for fucking Jeremy Chin. But if we're gonna do that, we got to do that now. We got to start selling these assets now, and we got to start looking towards the next season, bro. With all these, like, how do we? And after we sell all these assets, Scott Fitter has got to get fired, and we put the blame on him. Hey, Carolina. Hey, Panther Nation. Brian Burns isn't here. J.C. Horn isn't here, and the motherfucker that pulled the trigger on him, which is fucking Scott Fitter, he's not here anymore. We're gonna bring in a new GM. We got fucking draft capital. We got the fucking bank. We got money in the fucking bank. Let's go fucking do a complete rebuild. Let's go get some aliens. Let's go surround Bryce with some fucking weapons, and let's continue to build the wall. We have to do this the right way, and let's draft dogs. It's just crazy how I know all these college players and like.
I actually agree with him 100%.
We traded up for DJ Johnson. 4 picks later, Devon Aiken from fucking Miami gets picked. That's a running back that just rushed for over 200 yards. But we want to pay.
This was Fitter's draft,
Miles
right
Sanders.
There. This was
your days
Fitter's
are
draft.
counting, motherfucker.
I
Counting
agree
down,
with him,
bitch.
Yeah.
I was never a fan of you in fucking Philly. I mean, goddamn, look at what DeAndre Swift Swift is doing in fucking Philly. You was never doing that in Philly.
Well, because they got a
ever.
great offensive line, dude. I think I was too high on Miles Sanders. I know I am. But when
this upcoming wide receiver class is the running back class I was trying to tell y'all last season about. Xavier Woods from fucking Texas. Watch out for that motherfucker. You know who it is? It's that fucking boy. The G baby is fucking back. You know who it is?
Nice.
Let's
Good
fucking
call.
go.
Now we
Keep
got
fucking
it.
pounding.
The key to this is not only do you got to get the dogs, like he said.
Yeah,
but you got to
agree.
draft them. We missed way too many times. And it's been very hard to figure out why we've missed. You know, there've all been these different reasons. It was like, oh, we got the Marty Herney experiment. We got this, we get back. I think it's harder for me on this podcast as someone who tries to bring you guys back to the earth, bring you back to center in so many cases. It's harder and harder for me each week as each call comes in, each piece of evidence comes in to say that Scott Fitterer has proven his worth. Yeah. It's hard. And I think it's too easy to rush the judgment on that. I do think it is. But right now, this draft that he had with Bryce Young, right, is look, and I will watch that pick. That we're going to have to let that play out. But then you got Mingo, DJ Johnson, Jamie Robinson. Like, if we don't hit on one of those other players we need two of them. We need two of them mugs. We don't need just one of them. And don't tell me you ain't giving Mingo opportunity. Mingo has got an opportunity already in the first two. He's out with concussion, I understand. The thing is none of this works when you just hit one draft pick a year. And that was the problem that was difficult with us with Marty Herney. And it was difficult with us in the back end of David Gettleman. And now it's become prevalent in the last two regimes, whether it be Matt Rule and Fitterer. Let's go to the next call. There's only a few more to go.
Hey, this is Nigel from your chat.
So excited.
And so basically before I've been seeing in the comments and I've been hearing Greg, just talk and talk and talk and talk.
Right.
I just want to say, if you think Andy Dalton is more productive than Bryce Young, then you're fucking stupid.
I don't think that stats show that.
Okay.
I don't think that stats show
Let's go to the next call.
Yeah.
Hey, Stats here. I had a thought, and maybe it's ridiculous, but actually it might make some sense. First off, I have Vikings in the model coming out with when Panthers lose 55, well, call it 56% of the time. But,
this is a statistician.
It's just a model and chance we could still win. Outside of that, I'm thinking, what if and I doubt he'd want to, Bryce needs some more confidence, and I don't think he's getting it from that coach. He seems too lackadaisical in his demeanor and everything.
Yeah.
So what if you if you could convince him, I doubt he'll say yes, but Cam probably, not even just to throw, but just to be around him and instill confidence.
A personal coach.
Teach them all how, especially Bryce, what a leader looks like. And
what do you call that when you get a life coach?
I don't know. I mean, again, I doubt he'll say yes to that one, but just an idea.
How crazy of an idea is that? When what's wild about that is we juxtapose is that Bryce Young is the actual opposite of Cam Newton in every single way. Right? Yeah. He's small, he's this, he's all the things he's good at, Cam wasn't good at. All the things Cam was great at, he's not good at. And what if you brought him in as life coach and you're like, motherfucker, you got to get some swag about you. You got to get some drip, baby. You got to get that drip. Oh, great stuff. Oh, man, we miss Cam. That's what that comes down to.
I do. Very badly.
Hello, this is Nigel from your chat. So for the people that are saying Bryce Young because he's not ready
for the
NFL, it's not that he's not ready for the NFL. He's not capable. He's not ready. He's not ready, meaning he can't play with the offense that's ranked 30 in the fucking league.
I agree.
With no receivers, with no O-line. He can't develop. You can't expect him to do much.
We can
And-
expect
and the
him to
fact
get
that
better
you're,
from
like,
week to week. That's what I expect. That's
like,
all I
that people
expect
are
from him is to
comparing
get better next
Andy
week.
Dalton's play to Bryce Young's play. If Andy Dalton was able to get 360,
I think this is a fair
yards,
call. Fair call.
then Bryce would be able to do to throw 360.
But that's based on what? Based on
Because
what?
all Bryce has been trying to do is find receivers open, and the way the receivers were getting open versus the Seahawks, just saying, bro.
Look, I
Y'all-
think this
y'all gotta
call would
wake
be.
up, like,
Thank you very much for your
fans.
call, Nigel. I think this call would be even stronger if we don't go to what somebody else did better, this or that. I think what we should say, Greg, and this is what I would argue with you, is that you have been consistently praising Andy Dalton's performance as an NFL quarterback over the last 10 years. You said, look at the stats. He's been a productive, very good quarterback. So he's not just a new quarterback. He's not just a veteran quarterback. He's been a starter who has had success. So the idea, what I think is this, is that if Andy Dalton went in there and looked worse than Bryce Young, it would be like he should look better. It would be like this. It would, you know what I'm saying? It's like, and I'm not saying that it's not excuse making for Bryce. It's not excuse. What I'm just saying is this, is that the idea that a guy who has been in the league for 12 years, who's dealing with a tough offensive line, who's been in so many of these very similar situations, who has had shitty teams, who has had all of this, this is actually why you have a veteran like that. That's exactly why he should be better at that moment. Not that his career will be better. That's not what I'm saying at all. Is that it would be wild. I'm a teacher for a living. And man, I tell you, you don't feel comfortable teaching for 5 years. I mean, you can be a good teacher. You can be a very good teacher, but you're not. And my father-in-law says this, is you're not great at any job until you've done it for 5 years. But the point being is that somebody who has done a job for 10 years versus someone who has done it for 2 years, the 2-person tenured could be a better teacher in the end. But at that moment, it's just not suited. So we just can't. So I think this is Andy Dalton's been a very successful quarterback at moments in the league. And he showed his past, and he showed his capability in this game. And I think this is to be honest, I thought Andy Dalton looked better than I expected. I thought this is especially with that offensive line, he persevered. He persevered in a very difficult situation. And so I don't need to shit on Andy Dalton to make me feel better about Bryce Young, and I don't need to shit on Bryce Young to make me feel better about Andy Dalton. And that's why I don't even really give a fuck about AR and CJ Stroud at this point. Like, I just don't care it anymore. It's just like, it's just what we got, and how do we work with it?
Okay, I get what you're saying.
Can I be sad right now and tell you I was right?
No, it's not that. It's.
If you said this over and over, that Andy Dalton was on the verge of being a Hall of Fame quarterback. So imagine a Hall of Fame quarterback coming in there and not being able to throw the ball. Not like then he wouldn't. Like Andy Dalton showed me why I've actually underestimated him as a player in his career and his history in that game. And he showed that his capability and what Frank Wright was saying. And maybe on a game and a week by week and a moment by moment basis, he could give you a better chance at that moment to win. But I'm not signing Andy Dalton to a 4-year contract.
No, I agree.
I am trying to get Bryce Young to be a better quarterback in 3 years. I'm trying Bryce Young to have a better season in 10 years than Andy Dalton did.
And I think Bryce Young will, to be honest with you. I think he's a good quarterback.
Then we got 2 calls to get through.
I think he's a good quarterback, but
then what does it matter? Is that
nothing.
Andy Dalton did exactly what you expected him to do?
Look.
Andy Dalton did what you expected him to do.
You're exactly right. We've complained about the wide receivers not being able to get open, about the offensive line being nothing. And Andy Dalton overcame all of that with 8 false starts. Andy Dalton overcame all of that. Like, I mean, come on, man.
He's the future. Future.
He's not the
No,
future.
I
I'm not
agree.
saying
I
that,
agree.
but
No,
I mean,
I
come on.
agree.
You
I think-
can't
no,
say that
I'm
that
not
Bryce
defending.
Young.
I think this. I think the separation argument's been overblown. I think it's overblown. I think this. I think all of that has been. I think that saying the offensive line has been trash for the first whatever games has been overblown.
They have been.
I think their worst game was actually the Seattle game. And I actually don't think that I know that. I don't even think that I know that. What Andy Dalton did was show you is to just trust, to know when you just go there. He just threw it. He just threw it. He saw it and he threw it. He didn't think. He didn't hesitate. He didn't do nothing. And look, even the couple of misses. First, the DJ Shark touchdown, I think, was offensive pass interference. He pushed off on that shit. There was one of them he pushed off on. But like even the drop there was 2 drops by Shark. One, they're good balls. They're decent balls. And Bryce can do those things. What we just saw is he threw he didn't go through his reads. He just went. Speed. And that's why he didn't get sacked. Well, actually he got sacked more than Bryce. No, but that doesn't mean Bryce isn't good.
He got more pressures than Bryce did.
He had 7.
He persevered, man.
Yes.
And but here's the thing. Here's the difference is that was he was a veteran out there. He knew where he was going with the ball. He was able to read the defense, and he was able to capitalize on that. He was also it's a fair thing to mention. He also was going up against a much worse defense.
And maybe instead of us trying to talk about Bryce in this, maybe we should talk about the coaching staff. Maybe the coaching staff made as if you want to win this week, if you want to win next week, if you want to win in this play in this moment, maybe the coaching staff was wrong by putting Bryce ahead of Andy Dalton. That's not Bryce's fault.
No, well,
no, it's not Bryce's fault. Is if he needed to sit, he needed to sit. That's again goes back to somebody that's not his fault. That's not his fault. He didn't make the trade.
You're
so
right.
let's go to the last 2 calls. Let's go.
What's going on, C3 family? D from Sanford. You know, I wasn't going to let a night go by without dropping a couple little jewels, maybe a little positivity. Shout out to the great Tony, CK, Cody, just the whole C3 family. Even shout out to G, baby. But what I wanted to hit y'all with, since our Sunday's game, I've had time to marinate on the situation. I've had time to watch a little film. I had time to just really digest what we got going on. And yeah, the situation is bad. 0-3 is never good. But I want to take y'all back to last season when the sky was falling again. And everybody was on hang 'em at rule. And I even heard the Scotty Fitch should leave then or whatever. Now, I do understand when it came to the turnaround that we made and contended for the division, yeah, there was a new voice and there was a change-up, and that was called Steve Wilkes. But hear me out. How about, and I'm not saying it's this week, I'm not saying it's in the next 2 weeks. Let's say it's just something simple as Frank Reich turning over play calls to Thomas Brown. Us getting a little healthier on the defensive end. Maybe the offensive line can find somewhat cohesion. I know there's a lot of ifs and a lot of maybes, but it's possible. The other thing that I want to look at is we talked junk about Sanders and the running game. But to be quite honest, I think we should take a commitment to the running game. Running back by committee. Sanders, Blackshear, if he's still active right now. Chuba Hubbard. Everybody run, somebody's got to break. All right. Obviously, we've talked about separation, and they said there was better separation Sunday. I'm not going to clearly say it. I just think Dalton was throwing where he thought they should be instead of waiting for them to get open. But basically, everybody, the sky is not falling. There are 18 weeks. We have 15 more to go. Bryce has to develop. A lot of people have to get cohesion with each other. And I know they're talking about drink the Kool-Aid, this, and you're just going to cake for your team. Well, you know what? I will, because it's my team. It's our team. It's Carolina. We don't just give up on our family members when they disappoint us. Some, they just continuous, and we do.
And maybe in the situation you're at that point. But I believe in these Panthers. I believe in Bryce because that's who we drafted. I believe in the receiving core because they're here. People can improve. People can get tired of losing. People can get tired of being kicked in the mouth.
He's got a small little bit after, and this is the last call.
And this is D from Sanford. Just to conclude, I know it's like this every week. I apologize again, family.
It's okay. We love you.
Most importantly in all of this, Vince Elviro, if I'm not mistaken, I looked at a stat line that said in just a week's time, we went from the 19th defense to the 11th. That's growth, even in the most minimal, the most minimal of progress. And right now, that's what we need. I know we don't have a first-round pick. We're talking about shopping Burns or whatever. Whatever happens at the end of the day, we still gonna beat Panthers. Let's get ready for Minnesota. Let's pull this negativity and let's just put it in a little box for a second. And let's see what Sunday turns out to be. I love y'all.
We will.
With everything I got. Now, I got to get back to work, but the main thing that I'm going to keep saying, keep pounding, keep mother effing pounding. D from Sanford, I'm out. Let's go.
Love it, man. Thank you. Thank you for ending the show on a positive note. Hopefully this is the right. Does it not let me share the... Here, let me do this. Guys, that's the C3 Panthers podcast. We're at the end, close. We had a couple of things I know it's after the time. Once we get to midnight, we start worrying about, we're not worrying. We start sacrificing content in a way. I do want to, just because this is important to me, guys, or not important. I want to expand the show just a little bit beyond the Panthers. First, don't forget, you can buy the merch. You know where that's at. CarolinaCatChronicles.com. That is not the right thing to share. That would be audacity, folks. That's what I got to do after. I got to stay up. Everybody else y'all going to go sleep, love yourself, this and that. I'm going to stay up. I'm going to try to get this up. Shy Smith is a Titan. Just let you guys know. Chandler Jones was hospitalized against his will, according to him. Welfare. But I really just want to talk about this. Man, let me pull this brand down. This is wild. So my students, I got a couple of students, and I'm real cautious. How do I get rid of, where's Cody when you need him? Jesus, I'm gonna get rid of this damn banners. It's under banners. Okay, I got it rid of it. My students, I don't tell my students about this. I try to separate my personal life and my professional life. Like I go by Anthony at work, I go by Tony and outside of work. Right. So I don't push my podcast. I should be like, hey, download the podcast, click an ad, Manscaped, blah, blah, blah. No, I don't do that. I never tell them anything about this, but I have but I will occasionally say something like, happy Thursday. I said, happy Thursday. It's the beginning of football on the first day of football. And I let people know that I'm a Panthers fan or something like that. We don't talk about it though in class, but this semester I have 3 or 4, and this shows you generational Panther fans are becoming a thing. 18, 19-year-old kids are now growing up following the Panthers. And so I got kids, and this one kid comes in, he goes, "Oh, terrible day." And I wasn't even know because it's Tuesday for me. He's like, Panthers. I was like, and so then a couple of them stuck around and they were talking about it and they said some things like this. And I said, man, they're basically saying it's terrible, man. It's bad. And it is bad. And the bad thing for me is like seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. That's not the train, like Greg was saying. And I said, what I told them, I said, I challenge you to say one good thing about the Panthers. Like, I challenge you to say anything hopeful and good about the Panthers. And I don't think you can. I really don't think you can. Even if you say that offensive performance, I think that's fake hope in a way. I think we could get better. I'm not saying it's over. But the kid said this, and I laughed. I did laugh at this. He said, at least we didn't get hung up by 70. And I was like, touche, my friend, touche. But the Dolphins boat raced the Denver Broncos. And how about this? Russell Wilson had his best game of the season and got beat by 50. His best. Yeah. You think this, Greg? We're arguing about if this offense were good or not. How about this? Russell Wilson had his best game in 2 years almost, and he got beat by 50. The Dolphins, what they did was it's unprecedented, honestly, and because people will say, look, there have been the other games where people have scored more yards, had more yards in a game or more points happened before football was really football.
Right. Who's the coach for Miami?
Mike
McDaniels.
He'd be puffing bong hits on the sideline and drawing up plays on the back of a Cheetos napkin or something, napkin with the Cheeto fingers on. He got eating Doritos and coming up with these plays. No, he came from the Kyle Shanahan tree.
And I heard today that one theory is the reason why he ran up 70 was because he was available to be the Broncos head coach when
I don't
they
think
needed
so.
one. And
actually, they had the opportunity to kick a field goal and set the record for all-time points, and he took a knee instead. Yeah. He could have done that. And I heard something on the face. I heard on a fantasy football podcast today. Somebody said, "Do you think Sean Payton would have taken a knee if he had the opportunity to kick a field goal?" Right. That's exactly. They were like, "Fuck." Yeah. So look at this. I just want to read this out. This is wild. The Dolphins scored 70 points versus the Broncos, but that's not the only records they set. It's the fourth 70-point plus game in NFL history, including the postseason. The other three were before 1966. All right. So it's the most points scored in the NFL. Second most yards. Yeah. It's really the most yards in a game too. It's the most points and the most yards. The second, because technically by the stat, the 1951 Rams had 735. Modern football, they destroyed it. They're the first team in NFL history with 5 passing touchdowns and 5 rushing touchdowns in a game. They had 10 touchdowns, bro. They scored 70 points, 10 touchdowns. The math is easy, kids. Second team in NFL history with multiple players with 4 touchdowns in a game. 2004 Chiefs were the other. Second team at least 1940 since at least 1940 with 300 pass yards and 300 plus rushing yards in a single game. The 2012 49ers did this. I wonder if Alex Smith was there. Ran 71 plays, averaged 10.2 yards per play, the most yards per play by a team with 70 plus offensive plays since 1960. Second largest win in franchise history. They beat the Patriots by 52-0 in 1972. First 50-point win in the NFL since 2014, where the Rams beat the Raiders 52-0. The final score was one never before seen in the NFL.
Can we start making memes about how Sean Payton might be doing the worst job of coaching in the history of the NFL?
Do you remember what he said about the Broncos coaching staff last year?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what my point.
Hold my beer, he said.
Yeah.
Hold my beer. I got this. I'll show you the worst coaching job ever. On top of that, my fantasy team, which my one in the RFC3 Dynasty League sucks because you guys
playing you this week.
Well, no, because all y'all motherfuckers pressured me into trades. That's all it is. The reason my team sucks is because all G baby pressured me into trade and all of this, and I just folded. I should have stuck with who I had. My other team, I won this week, and I won by significantly. I scored 175 points. I had Mostert on the bench, homie.
Dang.
Yeah, dude.
Nobody expected that.
I would have won mine. I would have won mine this week if I didn't have Thielen on the bench. I put Thielen on the bench this week because I was like, you know what? And he'd come out with 30 points.
Greg, that's what I said last week when Mostert had 40, and I didn't start him this week. I said, he won't do it again. I'm not going to do this one's for you, CK.
Yeah, I didn't see the video, but I heard that
Mac Jones cup checked Sauce Gardner. Ted Nugent says Mac Jones certified weirdo. When is the NFL going to look at his?
Hold on. What did you say his last name was?
Nugent?
No.
Jen, Yugen. How do you say it? Jen, Yen, Win. That's Win.
Win.
You know what? I want one WIN, not one NGUYEN. Taylor Swift increasing ranch sales. This my son knows this. That's all I got. I don't really care about this. My son's a Swiftie. He cares about football now.
How about the 600% increase in jersey sales for Travis
Kelce? Like now all these little girls throughout now 20 million 14-year-old girls around the world are wearing Travis Kelce jerseys
until something happens, and then
they break up. Oh, and then you know what? Right. They're gonna fucking ruin him. My son doesn't like Mayer. Who was his name?
Mayer.
John. Oh, he's like, fuck that asshole.
I'm about to get our podcast canceled, but for whatever reason, the majority of men don't really find Taylor Swift overly attractive. Like,
yeah, because she's pretty. She's
not
like
interesting.
skinny.
Attractive is different. Yeah,
not overly.
I don't
attractive.
like her. I think her music is good, not great.
I think she's mid-level. She's no Michael Jackson. Let's put it that way.
Or Whitney. Let's go Whitney Houston.
I have the argument with my daughter all the time.
She's definitely not Michael Jackson.
All the time about Michael Jackson. She is no Michael Jackson.
I would say I think she is a accomplished singer. But when I listen, my son makes me listen to it in the car sometimes. And yeah, maybe I'm an old man. You know, maybe I just don't like it because the kids like it. That's possible. Yeah. But I would say it's not bad like her stuff, but her vocals are not incredible.
No.
You know, so I would say she is
10,000 people out there that can sing just as good as her that hadn't got discovered.
Totally. I think she looks and sounds the same, above average.
No.
That's the C3 Panthers podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. We go until CK can't stand it anymore. It's 12:30. Can we at least do our ice up picks? Please call in at the show 252-228-5098. A lot of people do that. It's pretty awesome. Subscribe. Consider being a C3 super fan. We're on the precipice of giving away a Mango jersey for Mega Mango. You're not going to get that Mango touchdown, it looks like, this week, as my man is in the concussion protocol, and I hope that they don't rush him back. That would be unfair. I think they rushed him out there a little bit, to be honest. Other than that, we'll see you Friday. We got a lot of different things. The longest running segment on the longest running podcast is the Ice Up segment. CK, you got one for us?
No, I'm just here to enjoy what you guys bring me.
All right. Greg, you got one?
I mean, I wasn't going to because mine are only political.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Man, you already pissed everybody off, so why don't you just pick the last one?
I feel like we should ice up the U.S. government for wanting to do a shutdown right now when we give $130 billion to Ukraine. We are paying people to live salaries in Ukraine, not just defense. There's salaries for not working. And we are shutting down our government. It's bullshit.
This is a wild stat for you, Greg, is that between 2022, when we invaded Iraq, and when we left, Afghanistan.
And it was 2012.
20. It's like 22. Yeah, it's like 20 years we were in Afghanistan or whatever. Like we spent less than 80 billion.
And
in the entire time we tried to
$30 billion. Yeah.
We tried to win a war supposedly with less money than we're given to someone else to hopefully win their war.
When we have people starving and homeless in the U.S. and we're giving $130 billion to pay salaries of people in a war that we don't give a damn about.
Not even that. It's for me, my mindset is there are so many communities that have been that they just refuse to influx with any type of resources.
Yeah, underserved. Just call them underserved.
Yeah,
Chicago, right there.
That's what I mean. It's like you could. I'm not saying it's an easy fix to just throw money at things, because I think that does open up corruption. But I mean, it's better than sending it over somewhere else.
You can't give a teacher a fucking raise,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, inflation's going up. You can't even give them 3% or whatever. You can't give Greg a federal. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's insanity.
Mm-hmm.
It's insanity. And you know what? To be honest, Greg, with your ice up pick, what we should probably do is find a way to simplify the books when it comes to the American government's expenditures and just publish them. and just say if you could publish it in this defense budget versus healthcare budget in a tweet almost, where it's just like this, is like if people just knew that we spent more money on things that we don't support as a people. I'm not saying a war. I'm just saying this is like, it'll be like whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then you saw how much little you gave, and you're like, oh, it's just it sucks. My ice up pick. So we all agree with that one. You didn't upset anyone. My ice up picks. One is this, and I know this one's not gonna go cool. Not people ain't gonna like this one probably because, and I got to make sure I'm not playing the sound. Because Oregon went and they beat the hell out of Colorado. Yeah. But look, they put the duck there, whatever is a duck, they put this prime clock out. So prime time. This is before the game. So I think this is too petty on them, like too over, whatever. But here, look at what happens. The duck comes out here to beat up this clock. It's not prime time, he says. It's not prime. He's got some stick. He beats it. He can't break it. And then his hat falls off, and he has to run off and hide himself because the mascot can't ever show themselves. So ice up to him. He tried to beat prime time. You know what? Leave it to the team. And then my last is ice up to the Panthers and the other 17 teams that the Dolphins outscored on Sunday compared to the rest of their season. The Dolphins scored more points on Sunday than 18 teams have scored all season long through 3 games. The Jets 42, the Jets, Giants, Titans, Raiders, Bengals, Bears, Patriots, Saints, Panthers, Falcons, Steelers, Jaguars, Commanders, Bucks, Texans, Broncos, Vikings, Rams have all scored less than 70 points all season. Kudos to them. Ice up to us. That's the C3 Panthers podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. We'll be here on Friday night for the free-for-all. We've got a lot of other content, including the film review and some other things coming out. Guys, that's it. You know where CK's at Codizzle_Allen, right?
You got it.
At the Bat Daddy 52, at cat_Chronicles. Cody's Lack is not here, but you can follow him at Cody LAC. And that's it.
Doctors take Field of Greens for their own health. Here's Dr. Ryan Green to explain.
We're like you, too much fast food and not enough exercise. That's why I take Field of Greens. The fruits and vegetables in Field of Greens support my heart, lungs, kidneys, and metabolism for weight loss. And Field of Greens promises your doctor will notice your improved health or your money back.
Get 15% off with promo code HEALTH at fieldofgreens.com. That's promo code HEALTH at fieldofgreens.com. Product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.